Did you say we're rolling?
Yeah. I hope the podcast starts with the sound of your wine being poured.
It's very relaxing, actually.
It is actually really relaxing. It sounds like a fountain.
I don't know if that's me being an alcoholic and the sound of like alcohol pouring.
We had a creek installed, a wine creek.
Wine creek. All right. Welcome to the Damaged Goods podcast with your hosts, Ill Vibe and Jess Robert. It is hot in the 6 this week. It is really warm. Why are you laughing?
You sounded so white and female saying it. I loved it.
It's hot up in here. And so if you don't have AC, sit your ass in front of a fan and enjoy the podcast. Hopefully our sexy voices won't heat you up too much.
Body temperatures are on the rise.
Yeah. Thanks for listening. The biggest favor you can do for us is to support us on whatever platform you listen on, whether that's Spotify, YouTube, or whatever podcast app you use. Just click the button that either likes us, follows us, whatever it is.
And if you listen casually, the way that you can level up without spending any money and getting into a committed relationship you're not ready for is just follow us. Like if you use Spotify, finding the Damaged Goods podcast and following us there, it just sends a signal to the platform that when someone types in the word damage, they might mean us. Yeah. And it just helps us get found.
We try to be real with why we're asking you to do these things.
This is what it is. Give us a follow so we can become super famous podcasters.
So we can go up in the ranks. Yeah, exactly. Check us out on our socials at Damaged Goods Pod, myself at Jess Robert, and Ill Vibe at Ill Vibe. We're still blocked on Twitter.
Twitter does not fuck with us anymore.
Yeah.
You know what?
We didn't post anything controversial or...
We're about to.
I don't know how it happened, but somehow we got blocked there. So
banned, like blocked and banned.
Yeah. So if you're from Twitter or you know someone from Twitter, help us out. We would love to have Twitter, but... For now, check us out on Facebook or Instagram.
Fuck you, Twitter.
Yes. Or on our private Twitters, which is at Ill Vibe Music.
Yeah.
And at Jess Robert.
Someone else says at Ill Vibe. And they and I have had some disagreements about who should have these various handles, but that's a combo.
You've been Ill Vibe forever. I can't imagine that they would have
they're from Germany. I think they have a similar timeline as me, but it's Germany, so who cares?
I mean... Germans do. Thanks as usual to lyricvids.com, the web's #1 lyric video animation company, providing recording artists and bands with dope content since 2015. And if you're a company that would like to sponsor this podcast, hit us up. We would love to consume your product on the air if it's a consumable product.
Even if it was like a hot food, I would still be willing to go get it out of the oven while we're on the podcast and consume it.
Yes, that would be fun. We once almost got a pasta sauce.
Oh, we were so close.
Sponsor.
Maybe I'll send him a message again.
And we're willing to fully eat pasta on this podcast. So if you have a product like that, definitely get in touch. So I'm super excited about today's guest. She is our first female comedian that we've had on the Damaged Goods podcast. And
we've had more, but we'll continue your intro.
As somebody who identifies as like a female comedian?
I think Al Dor would be in that category.
Oh, really? We have a full conversation about her quitting comedy?
I feel like if you called her a comedian, she would be like, I'm not a comedian.
Okay, sure.
Like,
okay, you're right. No, you're right.
She escaped from the hells of being a comedian.
Yes.
Keep going.
We had the privilege of catching her live earlier this year, and she is funny as fuck. Please welcome Michelle Shaughnessy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I love it. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So how did this happen? You guys talked about her coming on the podcast.
The biggest thing for me was is you're just funny on Twitter. Like I genuinely enjoy following you on Twitter, and I've been spending more and more time there. Just because I'm such a big comedy fan, and I think that's so much where comedy lives is on the internet, is over on Twitter. And so I've been there a whole bunch. And you are one of my favorite local comics, just in terms of like your daily just posts and yourself like deprecating stuff is hilarious to me. It started there. Cool. I've been inviting. My thing is we don't do that many episodes. It's like especially through the summer, and so it's like I want to invite people that are already making me laugh or already interesting, and then we can have our friends on in the wintertime.
That's fair.
No pressure to make him laugh.
Yeah, listen, you better be interesting. We've not been doing that many episodes. There's a lot weighing on your disappearance so that we can continue to grow and not lose listeners. So Michelle, don't fuck this up for me.
You'll have a pasta sponsor. So make it happen.
This studio makes up like 30% of our floor space of our apartment. So we really need you to deliver.
Well, thank you for the Twitter compliment. I love Twitter. That's why for me, I only like to be funny on Twitter. Like, I don't like to be. I mean, every now and then someone says something stupid and you comment, and you're like, "Now I'm in a fight." But that for me, it doesn't happen that often. Like, I just pretty much use it to be funny. Like, and that's one of the reasons why I got off Facebook and I'm taking an Instagram break, because those weren't markets where I was funny. Like, it's just Facebook hasn't been this thing in a long time for you to put out jokes and stuff. It's just about other people's lives and their drama. And Instagram's just to be like, look how I look, you know? Whereas Twitter, it's just like I could just put out joke after joke and have fun with it as opposed to taking it so seriously.
That's true. That's good to hear, because I've been very slow to warm up to Twitter.
I love it.
Yeah. I'm working on it.
You're there now. We announced the last episode. We had finally talked you onto the platform.
Yeah. I just find I still haven't, like, I still don't find myself like logging into it every day. You know what I mean? Like, it's not automatic to me yet.
I think you need to find the thing that I found on as a comedy fan. Jess does comedy as well.
Okay.
And it's that it really is this space where like jokes live and like humor lives on the internet, on Twitter, you know? And so you have to curate that and I think follow the right people so you can be in that conversation. But there's the funniest people in the world to me are one click away on my phone. And so when it becomes that for you, then I think, especially because you write jokes, you'll want to add to that list of jokes,
like,
you know.
Sometimes you'll find yourself thinking like, oh my God, that's so funny, I have to put it on Twitter.
Yeah.
And like sometimes you have to wait. Like there's certain times like I think that I have ready to go for tomorrow because it just doesn't make sense to tweet on a Sunday. Like that's how my comedy brain works, right? Like sometimes, or I'll just be lying in bed with my husband, I'll be like, oh my God, it's just thought of the funniest thing to put on Twitter. But I'm like, nobody's gonna see it at 3 a.m. I'll write it in my phone.
So
I was about to say, do you write it down? Like you don't
you know, sometimes you just can't resist the urge and you have to put it out right away. But there are times that I'm like, nobody's going to see this. Like I'm just gonna wait till tomorrow. Or I've already,
as far as like memory wise, like
I have to write it down or I'll forget it.
Yeah,
like every time I don't, I forget it. Like even stand-up jokes, and that's the worst. Like even the other night I thought of one and I was like, oh my God, I don't want to get out of bed and get a pen. It's like 5 a.m. I'm randomly up.
And did you do the thing where you convince yourself you'll remember it?
Yeah, but I didn't even know the little thing. I'm like, oh, this kind of sounds like this song. Like this. And so I made up a little song in my head and I don't remember a thing. I just woke up the next day and was like, oh, I made up a song that went with, what song did it rhyme with? And then I forgot it. I'm like, I can't believe I did that again. Like,
I've heard so many like pro comedians talk about that. With like, again, I convinced myself I would remember it, and I think
really about a lot of stuff in bed too. I think it's like the time when like I'm sitting there doing nothing, not distracted by like phones or TVs or whatever. And it's just like, that's just the time when I think about stuff.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure a lot of people are the same way. And it's just like the most inconvenient time because you don't have.
It is.
You know?
And I try to like always put it in my phone notes, but I forget something that day. Like I just didn't know where my phone was in the bedroom or something. And I'm like, I don't want to get out of bed at 5 a.m. And I should have.
Jess and I have spoken about this, and I'd love to run it by you. You tell me if you think there's some truth to it.
Okay.
This idea that in some cases, the funnier people, in terms of like comedians, are because they're innately really, really funny. And in other cases is somebody who's very good at the documentation of funny ideas and jokes, so that they always write them down. They're very disciplined at writing jokes down.
Like the people who have figured out the formula for comedy.
Yeah, and just in general, like, you know, how does one get better at comedy? One way is, you know, you're just innately funny, but I think in other ways there's the discipline of always writing down funny ideas when they come up and being switched on to notice them in conversations is a different skill than I think some people realize is a comedy skill.
Yeah, and I feel like I wish that I worked harder, like if that makes sense. Like I've had an okay career, and I feel like I wish I worked harder, but I didn't. Like I just, like I'm not trying to brag, but I know that I'm just naturally funny in the sense that like I can just go up on stage and be fine, or like just think of a general idea and be fine. And then I see these people that write down word for word and how the word works and how the word sounds, and like, you know, be like, these topics are hot right now, I can write that. And it's like, I don't have the time or energy for that, but maybe I would be further along and be a better comedian. Like I don't know, you know. And you can also see some people that aren't funny people, but they figured out like a formula for comedy.
Yeah, they're like good writers, and they understand comedy more than they are innately funny.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think I'm kind of like, I don't have a very good work ethic. Like, I mean, I'll show up at a show on time. I'll be early. I'll be professional. I do in that sense. But when it comes to being like personally, I got to write today, or I have to, I'm like, I don't want to do that. Like, I'll just go
if you were a basketball player,
stage and try it.
You're the guy who shows up on time for the game, not the person who scrimmages and practices all week.
Well, I mean, I'll go out and practice and be hard at it, but like I'm not going to do more than I feel like I need to.
Okay,
like if I have a set or a new joke that I want to do, I'll go out and do an open mic. But there's some comics that are like, oh, I did 4 mics this week, or I did, and I'm like, if I have to take a bus, like I'm not going. Like I'm just, but like I did that when I
we
first
feel pretty
started.
strongly anti-bus around here too.
Yeah, but I did that stuff when I first started and was hustling, and now it's like I just don't have the energy. I'm like, no.
So do you still do comedy essentially every single week? Or
I mean,
no?
in the
or,
summer, no. But I try to. Like, if I don't have any book shows, I'll try to at least hit one open mic.
Yeah.
Like, at minimum, because I always say I hate comedy, and then I'll go like 2 weeks without doing it. I'm like, I need to get on stage.
Yeah.
So I just can't really escape it. But I don't have that. I don't want to say I don't have the hustle because I do, but I also don't feel like I need to hit 6, 7 mics a week where some of them there's no audience or it's just for other comedians.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like I don't have that part of me anymore. Like
Sure. How long have you been doing comedy for?
Too long. Too long.
You don't have to say if you don't want to.
I'm trying to figure it out actually, because I started it when I was a teenager, but I kind of left it for a few years and just did like sketch. And then I kind of went back to it. So I think like almost 15 years. Like,
okay.
Yeah.
Long time.
It's been
awesome.
long. It is awesome. But then like I look at people who I'm like, I'm 5 years in and I've done Just for Laughs 4 times. I have a TV show and I'm like, cool, So
some people also just are more centered, even in the music industry, which where the hell and heaven that I live in. There's people who are so focused and just aware of how to get things. That's their talent almost.
Well, sure, but I don't know how it is in music, but with comedy, part of it is just luck. Like it really
sure.
is
There's-
just luck,
there's an
or
aspect
it
of
is
that.
like ticking a box, or it is like you're just not what they're looking for at that moment.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's anytime you're an entertainer, it could be as simple as, hey, we have someone who kind of looks like that who's already on the show.
Exactly.
Like that's a thing.
And you can also watch a show where everyone's auditioning for the same thing, and you could be like, those 4 people killed, they're gonna get it. And the
Totally.
guy who didn't do that well gets it.
Yeah.
And there's no rhyme or reason to it. You don't know why. Like maybe they just said something that the booker was like, oh, that resonates with me.
Just resonates
or
with them.
maybe I
Absolutely.
said something that they're like, oh, I just don't find that funny. Like you never know. And I've spent far too many years trying to figure it out that I'm just done trying to figure it out. I'm just gonna do my thing, be funny, make audiences laugh. And if somebody who has power in the industry sees that and wants to do something with me, cool.
Yeah,
but
totally.
I can't spend my time worrying about why people get things and I don't, which I think any performer has a tendency to do that.
I've talked about that on this podcast, just this idea of like I've had some successes and some flops.
Same here.
And then you're just like, wow, that one was a flop, huh? I didn't see that coming. And what I've often, because especially in the music, it's so much algorithm based, is like trying to cut the heartstrings from the algorithm. Like I can't live and die with whether Spotify algorithm loves my last release,
right?
Which essentially is everything, but it can't be everything to you. It just has to be like, okay, that one didn't work, no sweat. One of the next ones will, or they won't, and you just have to kind of move forward with the process. And that took me a while, and I'm not even saying I'm fully there yet. But recently, I've had one that did exceptionally well, and essentially one that flopped. And I'm trying my best to be like, well, that's that, and then we move on, and just like don't let it dictate the future too much. Don't let it dictate my emotions too much.
Yeah.
I mean, it's important to also, I think, remind yourselves, like, there's a lot of musicians who would probably love to have your career right now. Like, a lot of, like...
Yeah, that's the thing I think about a lot as well.
That's what I try to remind myself, too. Like, I'll meet these newer comics, and they're like, whoa, like, you headline clubs, like, you don't have a day job. Whoa.
They would kill for this
like,
thing that you take for granted. Yeah.
What? Exactly. You know? And then it's like, I have to remind myself of that. I'm like, I'm in a position that a lot of newer or up and coming comedians would love to, or just anybody who
And
wants
even
to
that
not have to
person
have a
who
day
did
job.
Just for Laughs 4 times might still have a day job and not be able to make like a, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
everyday
true.
career
that's
out of
just
it.
kind of my Achilles heel is the Just for Laughs thing, and it's happening right now.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that it's like the one thing in Canada I haven't done,
Yeah.
and I've auditioned for it like 11 times. So I think every year, like around this time, I do start to get a little bitter and angry, and I have to like remind myself
Yeah.
to not. And that's why, like I said, I'm going to take some time off Instagram. I don't want to see people's fun photos from what they're doing.
Sure.
And I've just been trying to like chill and not stress myself out with thinking
Totally.
about it this summer.
Yeah, you seem very self-aware about it, which is always helpful too.
It is.
Some people are like, I don't know why I'm so angry right now.
Yeah.
It's such a thing. Like when you work in the entertainment industry, I've had similar conversations with like veteran musicians who never got the Juno nomination, because that's the thing is, if you've made 8 albums and never got the Juno nomination, I think Daniel talked about that on this podcast. It's just like all his friends got Juno nominations.
Yeah.
So the nominations can't go to everyone. So no matter what? There's a stop point where this number of artists is going to get a nomination, and it just leaves the other 78% of them which never get one or whatever.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And it's probably more than that. It's probably 90% of them never get one. And unfortunately, sometimes that line is in an awkward spot, i.e., your producer gets 2 of them, and then you don't get one, or an artist on your label gets a nomination, but you don't get a nomination. And I've met quite a few people that they're just like, it's like the Junos have an issue with me, and you can see why they would think that, where every year their name is passed over, and meanwhile someone that they think that they've maybe done more work than or a little bit more talented than. And by the way, none of this is Danny. I'm speaking kind of generically about from many conversations with artists who feel that they were passed over. It's like, it makes sense though. Every year they nominate 6, and there's 6,000, and people only have enough space in their minds for so many names. But I see the other side too, where if the line is constantly drawn right next to you, you're just like, wow.
It'd be hard not to feel bitter.
You kinda got,
if you've done it,
it's tough.
Like you've auditioned
it's very tough to be an artist
or whatever. Yeah.
It's just hard.
If you want that stuff.
Like I
if you don't
had
want
a
it,
really
it's
good
easy.
comic that I look up to who, he writes on a night show in LA now. Like he's killing it. He made it so, he's Canadian, but he made it so far in England. And now he's in LA. Writing on a prominent show, and he actually messaged me, like, I think I made a joke or something about not doing Just for Laughs.
Sure.
He actually messaged me, and he's like, I understand, I've never done, and I was like, you've never done it? Like, are you kidding me? Like, it blew my mind that this person that I've looked up to for years, that's like in the comedy circuit, somewhat famous, had never done it.
Sure, yeah.
And I was like, whoa, that kind of put things into perspective.
Yeah, you realize how many people
And you
wouldn't
realize how
have done
little
it.
it matters. You realize I can still have this amazing career and not having done this one check mark in
It's
comedy.
a route, not the route. It's important.
It's not even a route anymore.
I just mean it's a route to growing the reach and the brand.
For sure,
It's not a route, but it's not
but
the
I mean,
route.
done are the deals like in like the 80s and 90s where you could go perform and people be like, here's a sitcom.
Yeah, but
That
if
doesn't happen
you're a young
anymore.
comic, because the same thing people say to me in the music industry.
Yeah.
I hate that conversation. We're like, well, you know what? There's no point going to that music conference because nobody gives deals like they used to.
I'm not saying there's no point.
And I'm like, well, I wasn't around in 1981,
Yeah.
so I'm super psyched about whatever deals
For
are
sure.
available in 2019.
And I'm not saying there's no point.
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
saying when you look at it that way, you know, okay, this not doing this one thing in this business isn't making or breaking
Of
me.
course, yeah.
Totally.
Absolutely. One of our favorite comics, and it's probably super mainstream, but Bobby Lee is doing Just for Laughs this year, and he's never done it.
Yeah.
That was his whole thing, was that he'd never been invited, he'd been
I've
passed
worked with him
over.
a few times. He's pretty nice.
We fucking love that dude.
Yeah, well, that's good. Like that's another good thing to hear
It's
too.
like there are legends who, for whatever reason, were never invited to perform just because they didn't match the tastes of one particular person. Or
Exactly.
I don't exactly know how the setup of Just for Laughs is.
So
but-
it happens, and like you just gotta move on.
Interesting.
and, you know.
Yeah. So what are you currently working on right now? Like if somebody wants to check you out, what would they go check out?
I mean, like I said, summers are slow. Like I'm just doing a lot of writing right now. Like I had a few shows in development with production companies that I was pitching that nothing's kind of worked out on. So I'm just focusing on that, like building out my repertoire of things that I'm able to do, you know? So that's it. Just working on some scripts, doing mics around the city. November, December, January is where I get really busy. Like I'll be headlining all the Absolutes.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, I'm going to take some trips out of town. I'm going to be in LA eventually. Like I think that's probably within the next year. That's where I'm going to land.
Cool.
So we're just kind of, I feel like, I don't want to say holding all my ideas, but like, I don't know how much you know about the TV business in Canada. There's not, I feel like
I know what you mean.
I'm kind of like just waiting there before I pitch anything else because it's just a long and arduous process.
It makes sense to build the arc. LA is smart. We're thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
And it makes sense to build to culminate in LA and not peak with some ideas that are kind of parked here in Canada and then move to LA.
Yeah, and the thing is, in Canada, there's really only 2 networks to pitch to.
Yeah.
So when they say no, you're like, oh, okay. But in LA, like, I know it's not going to be easier. It's going to be harder. But at least you have more roads to try.
Yeah, you're not dead after 2 no's, for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Exactly. So it's been good. Like my husband and I wrote a show together that we were pitching for a while. But it's not going to happen here.
Sure.
That's for sure. But who knows? Maybe we'll try it there. So yeah, I'm just trying to kind of like get out of my Canada bubble, I think, for the next little bit.
Is that what your husband does, or is that something he did just extra with you, or?
Well, he mostly does directing and producing.
Oh, cool.
He was an actor for like a really long time, and now he mostly is behind the camera. So it was really fun to work together.
That's awesome.
Like I didn't know how that was going to go, but it was good to work together. So he just finished directing like a teen series for Hulu right now. And now he's just kind of chilling for a little bit too. So you know, we're just
really
having
cool.
fun this summer and trying to like come up with like a bunch more ideas that we can start writing. So we kind of have like this repertoire of work ready to go at any point in time.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
There's so many parallels. I love meeting and chatting deeply with the creatives in like parallel fields as me. Because when I talk to, even when I'll speak to like a record producer, because I make music, but I don't produce music. It's like there's so many parallels between producing a record and producing like a lyric video, which I do. Or when you talk about, I said when you talk about writing comedy, there's so many parallels to writing songs. Like we've been doing the same thing, building a repertoire.
Yep.
And you don't want to build too much of a repertoire where you're sitting on hundreds of these songs because you can't use them all, but there's a sort of perfect number of things that you've got loaded up in a tool belt. And I spent a lot of time thinking about what that number of things is and how much of them I should be producing for release and how many I should be putting in my back pocket so I could drop them on somebody secretly and be like, look what we wrote. Do you want this? You know? And it's hard because you're kind of trying to rub two sticks together and make a fire, but you don't know which two fucking sticks to grab. So you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a bad metaphor, but
I love you and your metaphors.
I can't help myself.
Yeah.
I just don't want to be in a position where I only have one idea where it's like, well, this isn't going, like now I'm depressed. Like I want to be like, okay, cool, time to move on to the next one and put this one away for now.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's garbage. It means it's not the right place in the right time.
It helps you take the romance away from a single thing.
And I love writing. Like that's what I'm really trying to focus on. That's the next thing that I really want to conquer, you know, is, I mean, I've had a few writing gigs here and there just on like a show or like, you know, I wrote like a special for TV. So I'm just trying to build on that and learn how to write stuff that's I don't want to say out of my comfort zone because it's in my comfort zone. But when people think me and they know me, they just think comedy.
Sure.
And I have so many other ideas that aren't comedy.
Sure, yeah.
So I'm trying to get to a point where I can like be taken seriously in those genres as well.
The cool thing about writing is if you write something interesting and like dynamic and memorable, you immediately change the narrative about you. It's like because for example, Jess was never known really for comedy.
Okay.
And then all it took was a couple of examples of people seeing it to be like, oh, that completely changes the narrative because I didn't know that you wrote like that. And literally anybody we knew that you were witty, but not. Nobody was saying, oh, your wife's obviously going to be a comedian one day. Yeah.
That's good.
You're learning. It's
like
amazing.
stand up or that's so awesome.
Yeah,
Look at I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, for sure.
Like that's great. Like it's really good to like put yourself in a genre that people don't take you seriously or just don't know you as that.
Yeah, that wasn't where they parked you previously.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, I've always known that, like, because I did some writing and stuff when I was younger and acting, improv, sketch comedy and stuff like that. And I've always kind of known that like comedy was something that I wanted to try, but then it wasn't until recently that it felt more accessible recently. So kudos to you for doing it like a longer time ago, because it really has like come to a point where it's just like everyone's thinking about trying comedy right now. You know what I mean? So it felt, I guess, any of my nerves or my like worries about trying it went away because I just realized that, like, you know what I mean? It's just so accessible right now that I'm like,
there's definitely a wave of new comics happening alongside you.
Yeah.
Do you feel that?
I feel like there's more now than ever. Like if I don't go to random open mics for like a month because I'm on tour or something, I come back, I'm like, who are all of you?
Totally.
I don't know you.
I think podcasting created a wave of like a million stand-up comedians.
Well, I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying it's a lot more.
It's both.
It's a lot more.
It's both.
It's both.
But that's good. And it's good that you have the experience of other genres first. Because when I first started, I didn't have any life experience to talk about. So people were like, well, I don't want to hear this kid talk about stuff. But acting is something that I've been trying for so long and it wants nothing to do with me. Like I take acting classes every 4 months. I'm in like private studies. I've gone to probably 1,000 auditions. I'm not even exaggerating in my life. And I've booked one TV movie and that's it. That's all I've ever done. Like it's ridiculous. Like I go to about 4 to 5 auditions a week and nobody wants me. It's ridiculous.
I asked Anthony recently, I'm like, do you think that's something that I should like start doing? Should I get an agent and like start doing auditions? And he's like, only if you really, really want to.
Yeah, because
it's a long
the people we know who do it. It's a real.
You know, it is, but they've all at least had like one commercial. Like, I don't know what's wrong with me. So I got with a really good agent a few years ago who saw my stand up, and she's really well known in the acting business. Cool. So I left a comedy based agency. Not like they do other things too, but they were kind of known as the agency that had all the comedians.
Sure.
So I moved on from them because I'm like, I want to be known as somebody that's not just a comedian. And I signed with her, and even her, like every time I talk to her, I'm like, she's going to drop me. Like she's calling to drop me because I haven't done anything, but she can't believe it. She's like, I don't understand. Like you have the look of people that would be in commercial. Like nobody can figure it out. And my acting teacher was like, she was like, well, what have you done? Like she knows me better now, like, because I keep doing studies with her. And I was like, nothing. And she's like, well, how long have you been auditioning? I'm like, over 10 years. And she was like, whoa, you're like an urban legend. Like, I've never heard of anybody doing it that long and not quitting and not booking anything. I'm like, thank you. Like, I don't know how to take this. Like, do I stop? But at the same time, it's like, what else am I doing all day? Like,
No, yeah.
I don't have to run out of a job. Like, honestly, it gives me something to do in the day. Like,
The thing with auditioning,
And I'm sure it helps you in other ways, like with stand-up.
no, it doesn't. Like, I go through periods where I don't care. And I go through periods where I'm like, I want to quit. Like, this is bullshit. Like, what am I doing this for? And then I have my husband who, he was a child actor. Like, he was an actor from the time he was like 12 to like, you know, every now and then he'll still go out and do something. But every now and then when he's between directing gigs, his acting agent will be like, can I send you out for this? And he gets everything that he goes for. Like, the once a year thing he goes for, he gets. And I'm like, come on. Like, what is happening? Like, I don't understand. So it drives me insane.
that's funny.
Like, I'm happy for him and I'm great. Like, but then he's like, oh, you know, this isn't what I want to be doing. I'm like, shut up. Like, really? Like, it is what I want to be doing and nobody wants me. It's crazy. I've tried new headshots. I've tried different acting classes. I've read books. Like, maybe it's just not going to happen for me.
The thing about auditions that I think, because you say you're down to keep going out and keep trying. What else you got to do? It's very much the same way. Like we'll pitch songs, and it's like you get 1,000 no's, and you get really mean feedback. Like, do you even know what R&B is? And you're like, what? Yes, I love R&B my whole life.
How do you even answer that? Like, you know what? I don't.
I just be
me.
very polite.
Yeah.
But the whole thing that I always tell my guys, and I think it's the same thing with an audition, is you only really need to land one good one before it changes the conversation about you.
That's what everyone says, but I haven't landed one good one.
I know.
And the thing is, like, my acting teacher was always like, you got to be yourself and show your personality through. And so I'm like, okay. So then I go in and I make jokes and they're like, what? Like, I don't get it. And I'm like, okay. You know, like I did this one where I was supposed to be like a mom sending their kids off to school for the first time. And they're like, your kids are going to school for the first time.
You're very castable as that. I like it.
Sending them off to the bus. Like, just act how you would feel. So I was like excited. He's like, you're supposed to be like upset that your kids are going to school and you're going to miss them. Like, I was like, oh, I thought I was really happy. Like, cause that's how I would be like, like that. And they're like, okay, thank you. You know, like
hilarious.
I just don't get it. Like, I don't know. So then I try to like turn off my personality and it just doesn't work. So I guess I just need one person to be like looking for that weirdo.
That's all you listen, you nailed it. I'm looking for that weirdo.
So hopefully this isn't a question that like you're totally bored of. I can't tell if it's something that you'd like get a ton or if everybody would be afraid to ask this, but you're obviously like gorgeous.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
No, I don't get that a ton. So that's good.
Well, I'm not afraid to say it. Do you find that that's like affected your comedy career, not affected it? How does it affect it?
I don't know how to answer this diplomatically.
Yeah, I know. It's a hard question.
I don't want to offend people, but like, I wasn't attractive when I first started. First of all, I guess that's in the eye of the beholder. Who knows? Sure. But I was very overweight. I didn't know how to wear makeup. I didn't have you know what I mean? Like, sure. I feel like it was different then. I don't know how it would be if I started. I don't know how to answer this without sounding like a dick. Sometimes I feel like it is harder. I feel like I find myself dressing down for shows because I have had instances where I'm like, oh, this looks cute. I'm going to wear this. And then you even see like kind of looks from people in the audience, like, you know, and it's mostly from women.
Interesting.
And I feel like, I'm not going to name names, but there was a very attractive female comedian who started here and she was never taken seriously. And now she's like a big success out of Canada. I feel like Canada personally, and I could be wrong. People are going to hate me for this. I feel like Canada doesn't like their female comedians attractive. And I'm not dissing any of the female comedians who are killing it here or saying that they're not attractive. I'm saying the comedian, like...
No, I think exactly.
There's a slant to the country that would prefer that not be the case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not that you can't overcome that.
The way you said specifically women have it, I think there's a certain thing that's inside of us that's like... She can't have it all. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, so she's amazingly hilarious and gorgeous, and like they instantly get kind of like bitter and closed off because of that. Do you know what I mean?
I feel like almost like, because I don't really do a lot of self-deprecating stuff on stage anymore, and I did when I first started. I did a lot when I first started, and because now when I try it, it's like I've had people yell out and they're like, oh, you know, because it's like people don't want to hear somebody that they perceive as attractive being almost self-deprecating about how they feel about themselves because they take it as like I'm mocking that or how I feel, but I do still feel that way. You know, I grew up overweight. I was made fun of my whole life in school. Like
they don't see that
college,
though, so that's an interesting.
Food at me, like you know, so they don't get that. So I feel almost like I'm kind of in this weird spot where it's like if I come off as overly confident on stage, that turns people off too. Or if I come off as self-deprecating, they don't believe it. So it really puts me in this area where I'm like, okay, like how far can I take this joke? You know, and it's like I don't want people listening to this and being like, oh, she thinks she's hot or oh whatever, because it's like I have days where I do and I have days where I don't, just like everybody.
Totally.
But it's only been in the past few years that I've really kind of felt somewhat confident in my looks and like being able to leave the house in a cute outfit, you know, and that kind of stuff. And it's just
the idea of an attractive woman is so supercharged in like culture that I think comedy relies on so many little psychological nuances that as soon as they perceive you as, and I think these are the things that people think about, a girl might perceive you as prettier than her or not prettier than her. I think that weighs into her psychological response to you. And similarly, a lot of guys, and I can't say all guys, but especially me when I was younger in particular, would be like, is she prettier than girls I sleep with? And it's like, as soon as she is, it like puts them in a different space almost in your mind.
If they're punching,
if all of a sudden they're going like, no one wants to fuck me, all of a sudden it's tough to digest.
Or no, I don't mean that. I just mean the opposite. I mean, if they're like, oh, like guys are dogs, whatever it is, it's just like, oh, she's not allowed to say that because she's gorgeous.
Sure.
And now she's just like, bashing men.
It just supercharges all those things.
I've never had this question, so this is totally different to me to even talk about this. Like it's something that I feel like I talk about in secret almost, if that makes sense. Because I don't want people to feel like I'm being like, I'm too pretty. Things are hard, you know? But I have had it, like I made a joke before, like it was right when I first met my husband. So my jokes hadn't really transitioned because I was single forever before that. Like forever. I'd randomly have like loser boyfriends, but I had not been in a very long-term serious relationship. And then when I would talk about that on stage about how guys did this to me, guys did that, like I had someone yell stuff out like, oh, come on, like you can't get him. And I'm like, no, but I can't. Like I'm telling you my experiences, you know? Yeah. So people didn't want to hear that. They didn't want to hear somebody, like I said, that they perceived. And also there's a misconception that comics have confidence. Yeah. So they didn't want to see somebody that they thought that was up there being confident be like, I can't get a date, you know?
Yeah, totally.
But like I couldn't. Like, I just had awful luck.
It's confusing to them that someone who has all the power in this exchange right now claims to have none of the power elsewhere. Yeah,
exactly. And I feel like they accept that if it's a man comic talking about it, but if a woman comic talks about it, it's almost like they have to prove it.
Yeah.
You know? And that's it just sucks. But I feel like I've really come into my own even like the past few months more so. Like I've just been talking about what I want to talk about. And who I am. And, you know, I don't know. I'm at that point, and I think it's because I know that I'm leaving Canada. I think it's because I know that, like, I am getting out of here. I don't care if it works here or if it doesn't. And maybe that's why it is working more. Because it's not like I'm asking them for permission to talk about the things I do in my life. Like, I'm very scared of aging. I spend so much money on anti-aging. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But before, I was always hesitant to talk about it because I felt like it was coming off like, okay, everybody has to do that. And if you're aging naturally, like, you're ugly, get out of here, you know? Yeah. But then I'm like, no, I can find humor in this. And how it's like I'm at the opposite end of the spectrum where it's like I'm ridiculous with that stuff. Like insane with that stuff.
Sure.
So I always kind of hesitated talking about it because I didn't want it to seem like I was coming off like everybody needed to do that or, you know, I was so privileged that I spent money on this stuff. And now I just don't care. Like that's what's happening in my life. That's what I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, totally. And sometimes it is hard to like break that barrier of like a taboo topic or whatever. But if you do, it could be really rewarding because you're the first one to have done it and blah, blah, blah. Like everyone enjoys that refreshing perspective.
And I feel like I'm not like there are women comics that talk about it and you can find them online and they're funny, but it's not in Canada. Like I don't know what it is about. I don't know if it's a Canadian thing or if maybe I just pay more attention to Canadian comedy, but I don't know. It's like we're just not allowed to kind of, I felt for me personally, I wasn't allowed to joke about things that would make me come off as privileged or pretty. Does that make sense? But I feel like the comics I know in the States and the UK, they do it and nobody judges them for it.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a
attractive
Canadian thing or not.
comedians, even in the US, has been more of a recent trend. Male and female. There's more and more people that are like fuckable on stage than it seems that way to me.
Yeah.
Male and female.
Yeah.
We're like, there's just like better looking people. Like Jeselnik is a good looking dude. And there's more and more of these like handsome male comics that aren't 80% bald from the age of the 22 and you know what I mean, wearing thick frame glasses, which to me was like the iconic comedian look and cliche.
Yeah, and for the female comedian, it was either like,
it was like bad bowl cuts and
like
overweight,
nerdy, you know, and like yeah, you're right. I don't know what that is. Like you said, maybe there's just more people doing comedy.
Yeah, I think my guess, as somebody who's the only person in the room who's not a comedian, so let me just mansplain this to both of you guys, is that more and more people are aware of the art form and how to get into it, and Hollywood selects for pretty people, and so I think that's bleeding.
Hollywood,
that's bleeding into American comedy because you can get on TV, and it's a reason why like Andrew Santino, I'm a big fan of. He's a good-looking dude. He's been in like 17 TV shows. That certainly has helped fuel the comedy career.
Well, I was talking to somebody the other day, and like, by the way, you're super attractive too. So you like.
Thank you. I've been waiting for somebody to say it. No. So I didn't want to say it. We're married. It wasn't worth as much.
But like when you do, like, I don't know how much stand-up you've done or like where you perform, but it's like, do you kind of feel like, I don't know what your personal style is or if this is how you like, do you feel like, as a newer female comedian, would you feel awkward on stage wearing something like something that because everybody's looking at you? Do you know what I mean? Or would you now that like
so I don't care about like wearing it and being on stage, but as far as like the jokes that are kind of like, oh, and this guy did this kind of joke, I'm apprehensive and they do go bad sometimes because it's like people will turn on you and be like, oh, she's one of those girls. You know what I mean? Like so I'm definitely I'm really dressed down today, but I'm all over the map sometimes.
You are a little bit of a tomboy in regular life too.
Yeah, but for example,
I'll wear like thigh high,
heel boots. When
but you probably
stand up and stuff like that. Sometimes. So it's just like I do find that if I want to kind of do that material, that's a little bit more like
you're more hesitant.
Yeah, I'm more hesitant, or I'll dress down. I'll dress down and put my glasses on. I wear glasses sometimes.
See, I just got laser eye surgery, and I was like,
I'd like to do that soon.
It's amazing. I was like, I got fake lenses put in my glasses because I felt like I couldn't do comedy without them, and then I forgot them for like my first show after, and I was like, you know what? No. Nuh-uh. I'm not it's not me anymore. And I was only gonna put them on because I thought it would make me more like, you know, like, see, I am a nerd. Like, I have glasses, you know? Like it would, like, almost justify the things I was talking about.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's good to hear that other women feel that way, too, and it's not just me.
Definitely.
I'm starting to feel
that's one of the reasons why I brought up the question, because I'm also gorgeous.
Yes. No, but you are. Like,
it's also something that I struggle with, where it's just like, am I allowed to wear a tight dress when I do stand-up?
You know what? I mean? The answer is yes, but the answer is also, I can't guarantee that people aren't going to be like...
Yeah.
Totally.
You're also at a stage where you're mostly doing comedy at open mics, which is like 70% comics, which are 70%, 90% male. Well, there are really cool people at all of them, but I've only hung out at 2 of them, and there were definitely some garbage people at both of them.
Yeah.
It's also the local bar regulars who are just so drunk from drinking in the day they didn't leave the bar.
One thing that I get a lot is there'll be like a male comedian. I'll be like in like a nice outfit or whatever, and I'll be sitting near the front, and there'll be a male comedian who I've never met before, so he doesn't know that I'm a comic.
So he starts talking to you.
And he'll start talking to me, and he'll be like, oh, that's not funny, honey, blah, 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 blah. And then like I'm up 2 people later.
Yes.
And I'm just like, okay, now you made it just really awkward because it's like everyone's looking at me as like the girl who didn't think you were funny.
Yeah.
And it's just like now it's really uncomfortable that I'm trying to make everyone else laugh.
And by the way, it wasn't funny.
Well, when I first started, like I had like a male comedian or a few of them tell me to dress down. They were like, you know, and like I said, like to me, I wasn't attractive, but to some people, maybe they don't care. Like they were like, oh, you know, you're attractive. Like, so you can't wear a dress on stage. You can't. And I was like, oh, okay. And looking back, I'm like, why the hell did I let a man tell me how I needed to look like and how I needed to dress? And now I just don't care. Like, I'm not going to go on stage in a bikini.
Yeah,
like
of course.
That's just not who I am.
But that's for your own reasons, and you'll figure. And by the way, if you did that once, you'll quickly realize that doesn't improve the reception of the joke.
For sure. I wouldn't want to wear anything distracting. So
exactly. It's like
I wouldn't want to wear like low cut with like cleavage. It's just like then they're just going to be looking at my boobs.
Exactly. Yeah.
But if I'm wearing a tight dress and that's distracting you, then you haven't seen enough women in the
exactly.
world.
And I also I'll say this, I don't care, but I got my breasts done last year. And I
love the transparency, by the way. I fuck the transparency.
I talk about it all the time. Like my husband it took him a bit to get used to that I was going to talk about it. he was very like, I'll support you, whatever you want to do. And then I started to make jokes about it and stuff. And he was like, what are you doing? Like, and I'm like, this is who I am. I'm a very transparent person. Like and now he's like, whatever, like
transparency
talk
is powerful.
about it all you want. Mm-hmm. But it took me a bit to be like, I don't need to not that I'm going to whip him out on stage, but I would wear like baggy sweaters or baggy, because I didn't want, and now I have jokes about it. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to talk about it. This is something to my life. And it's been great to be able to do that, because it kind of like, it makes me feel like I don't need to hide myself or hide who I am, or it's like, and what's the point of doing it if I can't be open and honest and confident about it? And I want to let people know, like, they don't need to do it, but if they want to do it, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
It's two-pronged. One, it feels better. It feels better to be the comedian or the songwriter or just the person who owns the thing that obviously meant enough for them to do. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, that will feel better. So on your route to stardom or just your career, whatever you're doing, it will feel better to be the person who just owns that thing that obviously meant something to them. You know what I mean? Versus hiding it, which won't feel great. Yeah. And simultaneously, I have a theory, and I'm not the only one. I think a lot of people who are in the creation space agree that you will become a more potent joke or songwriter by owning that thing. Because you can write a way more potent idea when it's the actual thing that you think inside your head all the time. Instead of you try to create a narrative that's like one step away from that so that you can kind of shield yourself. And now you're going to write a funny joke or a hit song in that narrative. It becomes more disconnected.
I'm super envious of people who are able to be like honest right off the bat without like someone almost like leading them there. Like, for example, I get extensions. I don't have them in right now, but
that I miss mine.
Yeah, I usually get them all the time. I've just been on a little bit of a break from them, but Ariana has that song now that's like something about like my hair, just bought it or whatever. And I'm like, oh great, now I can talk about it. You know what I mean? Like, honestly, it took up until that moment for me to be like, oh, I can talk about my extensions publicly now.
See, I'm like that. I wish I was a bit more modest. I wish I was like in between us. Cause like people will be like, oh, I like your hair. I like this. I'm like, it's fake. I bought it. Or like, oh, you look good. I'm like, I just got my face done. Like, I'm just too honest. So there's a happy medium. Yeah. But I feel like, sure. I don't know. I don't know what your style of comedy is. I'm really excited to check it out now. Nice. But are you like, do you talk about like stuff that's going on in your life, or is it more like outside?
You're very.
Yeah. So he just saw me for the first time recently.
Really?
We should talk about that,
which was really fun.
I wept for 8 minutes.
Yeah, he cried afterwards.
Really?
Not afterwards. The entire time.
Why?
So
was there jokes about you? Is that why?
No. Okay. I fan out for comedy the way like. Picture like your average man in Kentucky fans out for college football. Like, I am a comedy super fan. And so
I'm trying to think of what I'm a super fan of, but sorry.
Like, I'm a super fan. Like, I watch everything. I listen to comedy podcasts. I digest how jokes are written.
Okay.
Because I'm just like obsessed. And I'm also just a writer anyways. And so it scratches all the right boxes. I'm the biggest comedy fan I know, other than comedians who are also usually huge comedy fans. And then Jess would be like, yeah, I think I might do comedy one day. And I'm like, yeah, maybe me too. Because a lot of comedy fans say that. Like, maybe one day I'll try it. And then one day she was like, I think I'm going to try it. And then she started doing open mics. Cool. And I was the proudest human in the world because I was like, she's fucking doing it. She's doing the thing that nobody ever tries to do, And then I remember saying to her, as a huge comedy fan, be prepared to be bad for a while. Because it's hard, and everything I've ever heard from, like, I watch Kill Tony podcast, which is like essentially an open mic with professional comedians giving feedback, and they're always like, man, you've been doing it a year, you're supposed to suck. Like, I've heard that 1,000 times, and I've seen great examples of it. And so I was just like, be ready for your premises to be a little like amateur. It's just that's the nature of getting into joke writing if you've never done it before. And then she would say, I have this premise. I'm like, yeah, it's pretty good. I don't know if it feels like there's not like a heavy punchline there. And so I heard I just was like, oh, she's in a beginner phase. Okay, so now we go to New York. And
this is a year later, by the way.
This is a year later, yeah. And we go to New York, and by the way, you need to tell the story about Mr. I'll be real with you after I tell this story.
Yes, for sure.
Anyways, we go to New York with some of our best friends. We stay with out there, and she plays a little open mic in Queens. There was like 30 or 40 people there, like mostly just drunkards, but it was awesome. And then she goes up, and she was fucking good.
That's great.
The premises were good. Like punchlines that I thought, because only a couple of them I'd heard you say in the room with me, and I was like, I don't know how that will go. Murdered. My friends were dying. Everybody was dying. She was clearly one of the better comics of the night.
That's great.
The confidence was great. Your delivery and your voice was like, you had a whole like confidence I'd never seen you speak with like in that. It was amazing. And it was somebody who's been doing comedy, in my opinion, for several years, not somebody who's done like 50 open mics in a year.
Awesome.
You know what I mean? And so was. I'll cry now if we could talk about it for too long. I was so excited about it.
So it's like a feeling of proudness.
I was just like,
I like that.
This could be a professional comedian in front of me.
And he said to me so many times that he didn't want to come see me because he was going to be really critical, and he was
that's kind of who I am.
He was going to not like it, and it's so true. So it made me nervous too. I was just like, oh, I don't want him to see, because
with love, not like I'm not like
no. But if you were critical of me the first time you saw me,
of course.
I think it would really
first
put a
time would have
damper-
affected.
which is why I haven't. Which is why I've avoided it.
Yeah.
Because I tend to be.
I get it.
Like, and even with my team where we write songs, I'm the lead writer. I run the session.
And you're the hard love guy.
And I'm the tough love guy. We're like, that's not a great idea. That's been done 1,000 times. And so I didn't want to say that to her too early and fuck her confidence.
I mean, yeah, no, I get that.
So,
like, I don't know how I would react if someone said that the first time they saw me. Like, the first time,
I also would have been
Would be a bit
nice,
harsh.
but I definitely
Of course.
would. I could see her being like, so what do you think of the jokes? And being like,
Yeah.
but you also
it
don't want
feels
him
like
to
the jokes
lie.
of somebody in their first year.
Yeah, and you also don't want someone to lie and be like, it was great. And you're like, nobody laughed. How is that, you know?
totally.
Like, it's nice to hear that, because that's how I feel my husband feels. Like, he's such a big comedy fan. Like, to the point, like, when we first got together, he was like, let's watch the special. I'm like, no. Because that puts me in work mode, and it puts you in, like, relaxing mode.
yeah, that's interesting.
So we can't do that stuff together.
That's interesting.
But I've never had a guy that, I normally never let guys come to shows. And he comes like every show. Like, he gets upset if I don't want him there, or he can't make it, like, because he just gets so proud. But my favorite thing is, because I run a lot of jokes by him where he's like, that's not very good, or that's not funny. And then I do it and it kills. And I'm like, like, I told you.
I love it.
You know?
I love that.
I love that.
I love that.
Like, that's a great feeling, you know, where you're like, I knew it.
We do that too. I played her a couple songs and she was like, no, this one just doesn't sound like you. And it's like my biggest hit of the year. And then every time I perform it, I'm like, babe, the crowd loved it again tonight. Did you notice how much they love that song?
He's like, by the way, any of those royalties that come in from that song, you're not getting.
You don't get to see any of that
That's
money.
amazing. Did you talk about him on stage at all?
A little, but not
a little
really.
bit, yeah, a
But
little
I'd be
bit.
okay. I'm okay with it.
My husband's too, and I'm so mean to him. I'm so mean to him on stage.
That's
like,
really funny.
I like, but sometimes he's there, and the other comics are like, oh, like, and I'm just so mean to him. Like, but
I talk a little bit like I'm
exaggerated
single on stage.
I did
because
that for a long time.
Yeah, so I think once a few years have passed, I might not do that anymore. But I like talking about weird, like, sexual experiences I've had. I like talking about weird sex stuff, which I know is like an early female comedian's thing.
Whatever. Funny's funny, you know? Like,
totally.
I don't, whatever.
So and I mentioned you in my set that I did in front of you too. So it's not like I act like, oh, I'm single lady.
But you're wading
It's
into
like,
the pool.
I do talk about,
Pool. There's no like husband
fucking
bashing
guy.
yet.
Oh my God, I love it. I love it. I love husband bashing so good. And it's like, I'll just take things that he's like, I'll just exaggerate them a little. Like, they're not lies. I'll just exaggerate them a little. But I make fun of myself too. But he's such a good sport. Like,
I'm okay with it.
He's like, he was told me, like, he was like, make fun of me. I'm like, you don't want that. He's like, make fun of me. Like, I can't wait till I'm in your act. And then one day I was like, I'm going to talk about you tonight. And he was like, okay. And then he was like, oh, holy shit, that was really mean. I was like, you told me to do it. And now he's like super chill with it.
I don't think you'd want to go. I don't think I'd want you to go viral on a joke about like my dick being small or something.
I don't go that far.
Average size.
I don't go that far. I don't talk about like looks and stuff, but yeah.
it's average sized.
Yeah.
Because if you made a joke amongst our friends about that, I would die laughing, no problem. But if you were on Netflix being like, so my husband's dick's small, but I'm still married to him, I would be like, that's on the public record that I have a small dick.
That's so funny.
Like, I think that would be. But anything shy of that, if you going on about how I'm a know-it-all or I'm an asshole, like that stuff is all super real about me, and I would die laughing about it.
You gotta understand. Like, I'm always saying this to my husband too. It's like he's always like, "That's mean." Like, he'll laugh.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I'm not mean. I'm a comedian. You need to understand that.
Yeah,
like, if you
yeah.
set me up to say something, and it's obvious that I'm going to say something, and it happens to be mean, I'm like, I'm a comedian. Like, my first thing in my brain isn't like, oh, that's a mean thing to say to the person you love. It's like, that's really funny. I'm going to say that right now. You know? So I think it took him a bit to get used to that he was like, okay, you're going to say the funniest thing first, and it probably is not going to be the nicest.
Yeah.
So that's
how long have you been with your husband?
Not long. We got married pretty quickly. We've been together like 3.5 years.
Sure. And you got married 3 years and 5.5 months ago?
No, but we moved in right away. Like, we just got married in April. But I don't even know if we've been together for 3 years. I'm trying to think. Like, yeah, I think it'll be 3 years this January, which blows people's minds because we just, from our first date, we were just together.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
So I moved in with him like right away. And then, we got married in April. We just did the City Hall thing and did it.
Oh, wow. So you're like super newlyweds.
Yeah.
More than us. We got married last September. So.
Oh, that's great. Mm-hmm. Did you guys do like a big thing?
It wasn't a big thing, but it was at City Hall.
People, yeah.
I didn't want to do anything. I don't know. I didn't want to. It's not that I I don't know. I don't like weddings. I don't want to go to anybody's weddings. And
Sure.
like, I'm not going to
I
meet
hate
people.
going to weddings.
I'm not going to meet people.
I love weddings.
No, I love the party, but I just
love
hate
any excuse
it's
to
such a pain
dress
in my
up because
ass.
it's like, when
Oh, I
does
don't
that
like
ever
dressing
happen?
up.
It's not like we go to the club, so it's like I can never dress
I
up
get
in
that.
like a
yeah.
nice dress and heels.
I
you know
totally
what I mean?
get that.
Like,
I'm always like on it. I'm like, we just do something nice. But I don't know. It's just not my thing. And like,
Yeah.
I just didn't want to do that. And I just wanted to like it to be, if it were up to me, like parents wouldn't have even been there. But he was very adamant that parents were there.
Sure.
But it just felt like, it just felt like a private moment.
Yeah.
You know? And I was telling them because they were like, are you guys going to do vows? I'm like, no. Like, you just tell us what to say because I just would have, like, I can't have people look at me and not have the words coming out of my mouth be funny. Like, that just, I'm like,
Sure.
I feel like if we had a wedding and we wrote vows, it would just be a standard routine for me. Like,
So you didn't do anything?
No, we just did like whatever they
Yeah.
say, you know? And it was fine. It was like beautiful ceremony, really nice. And then we just had dinner with family after, and we keep saying we're going to have a party, but he's just been so busy like since we got married that we haven't had a chance to even have a honeymoon yet.
We wrote vows, and Jess took the opportunity to just write jokes.
There you go.
She did. It was actually
That's
the first
what
time I
it's
saw
like being
Jess
married to a
do stand-up
comedian.
comedy was at our wedding.
That's amazing.
Because you essentially just wrote 8 jokes.
I'm so excited to watch
there
you.
was lots of
No, it was romantic jokes, but every single bit ended in a bit.
yeah.
Which I'm not mad at.
And I
It
was
was
sobbing while I was
It was
doing it,
hilarious. The entire place was laughing, but it was definitely bits.
Yeah.
Do you still think you might do comedy now?
My thing is this. I'm an old man in the music industry, and I paid my dues, and I did this. I jumped through so many hoops, it would cause you trauma if I explained them all to you. Like, I did the work, like 20 years, you know?
I get it. I get it. That's like me with comedy.
To start over in comedy is not possible.
Okay.
It's like someone who got out of prison and goes, I'm not going back in. I can't do it. I can't go back to open mics. I did that
get
in
it.
music. I did it for a decade and a half.
That's honestly,
just seeing him like in the beginning of our relationship, these like small rap shows that he would do, and then going to open mics, they're literally the same thing.
And when I perform, I do banter between my songs and make the crowd laugh. Like I do little bits of
So you
comedy on
get
stage,
it out of your
and I
system.
get little, and it almost makes me want to do it full time. But I just think this is what I figure: if I'm ever so successful in music that I could easily transition to trying something comedy, maybe one day that'll happen. Or if just through Jess's career, there's enough opportunity that I can open for somebody and try it that way. Maybe one day I'll try that and I'll do 3 minutes.
or just let her open for all those people.
No, I'm saying, I mean, like for her, like, as she
okay.
goes up, like she's able to be
Okay,
like,
I get what you're
hey, I
saying.
could give you this 3-minute
5
spot
minute
at
kind of thing,
something
try out
to
your
try it
stuff.
out.
Okay.
I love the idea of trying it. I am not interested in the politics of starting at the
Hey,
bottom on the Danforth the way
feel
that you're
ya.
doing.
That's
I can't do that.
how I feel about moving to LA. I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to start all over again, and like, it's gonna suck. It's gonna suck, and hopefully I can just move through those hoops quicker.
I think you should.
I
be
think
able
you
to,
will.
because I think
not a complete
that I've
start
been
over.
a comedian for 15 years in Canada does hold some weight.
Maybe,
there.
and
but
your
there's
performance will
also,
come
like,
with
I know
some
you
of
seem
that.
to make connections and stuff.
I know, and I'm not a social person. Like, people never believe that. Like, if I don't have a show or an audition or like, I don't leave the house. Like, I'm very much a home person. I mean, I don't drink. I don't go out. Like, I just don't do anything that I do. I do a lot of things that I consider fun. Like, I work out all the time. Like, I'm really into that kind of stuff, but I'm not very social. I don't have a lot of friends. I keep my circle very small. So I'm going to have to get out of my comfort zone and like go to these open mics
Yeah,
and show
for
up
sure.
and be like, hey, like, nice to meet you. Like, I'll sit here for 3 hours and hopefully get on. And it's like, that's just something that's terrifying me because
Yeah. You realize that you have to do this kind of grueling work. It's in front of you.
Have you always been kind of alone in the industry in the sense of like, did you have like girl or guy, like comedians that you went to open mics with together?
Yes, I have a few comedian friends, but again, it's like, and I'm not dissing comedians. Like you said, some of them are good people, some of them are awful people. I think
It literally is the best and the worst people.
it is, and I think because I've been doing it for so long, and I saw a lot of bad in people, and I've had bad moments too. Or I've had people that you confide in and you think you're friends, and then they use that stuff against it, like, so I keep my comedy circle very small. But I did have people that I started with and went to mics to and that kind of stuff, and I'm very grateful for the friends I do have. But there were always like comedians and I still see it happen now to like the newer comedians that are like, we're just gonna try to like destroy this person, you know, just because they're new. Like that's just a thing. And it's like they're like, oh, we're just testing you. And it's like I just try to go out of my way to be really nice to the newer people when I am on shows with them or like help them out if I can. Because I had people be awful. And, you know, from what I gather from newer comedians, it's not as bad as anymore as how it used to be. But when I started, there was a lot less people doing comedy. So I think people had their backup about their work.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Totally.
And I got signed to Yuck Yucks really early on. I don't work for them anymore. It's a whole other podcast. But I feel like whenever anyone new would kind of work for that company, there was like a group of like the old people who were there for so long would get their back up and be like, this is going to affect my work. And they would just be awful to us new people. So there were some newer comics when I started that we just bonded at the same time.
They're
were still
protective
friends, you know?
of their piece of the pie.
Yeah. And there's a way to be like, I don't think that's really a thing. Like, it's like they're going to make more pie. Like, calm down. And it's like
lots of pie.
Exactly. And that's the thing. It's like you should bring up the people around you.
If you do the job correctly, you're just going to grow the number of people who eat pie, i.e. like just fans of comedy more than the number of comedians. And that's happening at the same time.
Like,
the same way that podcasting is blowing up comedians, it's blowing up comedy fans too.
Well, guys would try to put me against the other female comedians because there weren't as many or there weren't, you know. And now I'm like, why? Like, if there's more female comedians who are funny, then it's going to help break down those stereotypes. And it's going to make people be like, I want females on my show. I want, you know. And I just never understood that mentality. And I just really tried to like not be like that. Like I said, everybody has bad days where I'm like, maybe I was kind of mean to that person, but I really try my hardest not to be because I think it's awful. And like, I want everybody to do well.
Yeah. Fortunately, I've been pretty lucky where no one's been that mean to me, but that brings me to that New York City story.
Tell it.
So this was the first time that I was ever going to do comedy in front of him, which obviously that's a huge deal. And then also our 3 friends that we brought.
Yep.
So I really respect their opinions as well. So I was nervous. We were drinking, which helped, but I was definitely like super nervous. And a guy came up to me who was a comedian going on like 2 acts before me. And he was like, oh, how long? And like just small talk, like how long have you been doing it or whatever. And I wish I knew it was going to go this route because I would have just like stopped talking to him or lied or something. But I was just like, oh, just a year. He's like, so what? Like 50, 60 shows? I'm like, yeah, something like that. And he was just like, so you suck then? And I was like, yeah, like probably. And he was just like, well, he's like, just so you know, I'm not going to like sugarcoat it for you when you get off the stage. Some people are going to like shake your hand and say, oh, that was awesome. He's like, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to tell you if you suck. And I'm just like, okay, like I don't know you, and like I'm some girl from Toronto. You're just like some regular at this bar. Like I'm just like, I don't know why you feel the need to tell me this. Like I'm not going to infringe on your space. I'm just here visiting. You know what I mean? Like anyway. So then he went up, and I'll let you explain that part.
So I didn't know at first when he went up. Jess told me mid-set what had happened.
Yeah.
But he took himself very seriously, and he had really thoroughly written jokes that you could clearly tell he was kind of like a comedy snob, but they just weren't landing. It was like very like smart and almost like spoken word poetry, and it just was like, it was awkward and cringy.
And then he did like a fake accent for the first half of his set.
I hate that stuff.
And then he was just like, that isn't even my real accent. And then he like breaks out of the accent.
And he made a big deal at the beginning of his set about how he's had a taping next week, and it was just the whole thing. But felt very
and everybody who kept walking by to go to the bathroom, he'd be like, "Hey George, what's up?" And he'd like shake every single.
Sorry, I missed your set last night. I'm in the middle of a set right now, as you can see. He's just like,
he was just like
he was the
showing
worst.
how much he knew everyone.
I really want to know who this was. Do you remember his name? You don't have to say it on air, but
Jess, and then Jess comes up and whispers in my ear, I feel bad for this guy, except for he was a real dick to me right before he went up on stage.
I hate
and I was
that.
like, that's amazing.
I hate when that's like when I'm in a new city or I'm whatever, I don't tell people how long I've been doing it. Like, because I feel like it puts pressure on me to be good. And I think sometimes it embarrasses me when they ask if I've done certain
you're
things.
at the opposite end of the spectrum as I am, because I say that I've only been doing it for a year, so then they're just like, oh, then you suck.
Well,
and then they're like, oh, then you think you're so good.
Exactly. Or they're like, oh, then you've never done just for like things
This
like
is
that.
why I don't know if I want to.
So that's why I just don't like to tell people. I'm like, oh, just a little bit on and off. Like I don't. And it's none of their fucking bits. Am I allowed to swear?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd ask that you not.
And it's none of their fucking business. And I don't know when this started. Like, I don't know if you're a show counter. Like, if you know how many shows you've done on hand.
No, I don't.
I don't
love these
have
thing. I don't know if you're a show counter.
I don't have any idea. And like I said to my friend the other day, I was like, what is with comics counting their shows now? Like someone will post, they'll be like, everybody come to this venue. It's my 250th show. And
That's why they count. That's why they count.
But I don't get it.
Because counting. And
I have no idea how many I've done.
I say for both sides because I came from a marketing background, and so even though I've kind of freed myself from that professionally, I've been broken forever. And so I recognize the opportunity. For example, my music, just today I announced I just crossed 500,000 streams on Spotify.
Well, that's different.
No, it's not. It's not that different. They don't email you and tell you that. I had to literally count my streams. Yes, but
like
that took me 10.
You would be a comedy show counter. I know you would.
I would be, and this is why, because it's fun to celebrate. Because 500,000 streams makes a point. It helps tell my story. And the story is this. I've been doing this for a long time, and that I'm a lifer. And I like to get that message into people's heads, because I think there's a psychology of building fans. People don't want to start talking to their friends about you unless they can predict that you're going to make them correct and just have a hit song next year.
Keep going.
And so I don't do any fake it till you make it bullshit. And it's like, look at my I don't do any of that stuff. But what I do is I make highlights out of the moments along the way. So it tells the story that you could tune in tomorrow and I'll keep you posted about whatever the crazy thing that's happening is. You know what I mean? And I try to keep it pretty impressive, i.e. 500,000 career streams is noteworthy. Even you started with that's different until I told you that I did all the work myself. And
that's a lot.
And it was, it is a lot. But it's why I'm really good at telling my story in music. I believe that's why my songs are powerful, and outside of music. And I believe that's why my internet presence is potent and interesting.
No, I get it. And I'm not saying they're right or wrong for doing that.
I love that you even tell me I'm extra. I'm just joking.
That guy was probably a show counter. Like he was probably like, no, because he was probably like, if you haven't done this many of shows, this means that you're
but
here
I'm not an elitist,
and
I'm there. I don't play this game.
Yeah.
But if you don't get the following accomplishments, you don't qualify as a blank. As soon as someone says because this comes from hip hop heavy, oh, he's not a real rapper. That's not real hip hop.
Don't get me started on
That's
that.
not real comedy. Like I don't play I'm not interested in the qualifications.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in. So I'm not an elitist. I count as a celebration of things. I go, hey, I just played in my 10th country. Isn't that interesting? Because no one else is going to add that up and tell anybody that I've now performed in 10 different countries. And so from a marketing standpoint, I'm good at watching and keeping my eye on milestones like that.
That's
and
good.
I just think it's worth it. Like, and by the way, I'm not just defending myself and going on about how amazing I am, although I am. I just think there's something to that.
That's good. I think I'm not a good self-promoter, and I don't care. I should care about the milestones that I've done. But I think for me, it's like I don't know how to explain it. Like people will be like, oh, you've done that. That's amazing. I'm like, is it? I don't know. Like it's just so far from my goals that it doesn't feel like a thing. Does that make sense? Like,
yes, but it helps you. And I'm enjoying even just playing devil's advocate because I happen to sit on this side of it.
No, I get it. And you're right.
In theory, for example, what's the most impressive thing that's happened in your career? If you were to get trapped in an elevator with someone, he goes, tell me something impressive about you. Tell us something impressive happened in your career.
Here's the thing. That answer could be different depending on who I'm talking to.
So give me an example.
So one thing that you might find impressive because you're a numbers person that does not matter in Canada.
But tell me.
I had a video go viral and it's like at almost 4 million views right now.
Oh, that's great.
So that really helped my social media game. I'm getting like requests to perform in places, like that kind of stuff. But that does not matter in Canada. But you talk to anybody in America, they're like, you're going to get a manager immediately. You're going to do,
Let's use that as an example.
Doesn't seem impressive to me, but to my husband, he tells everybody in every pitch meeting. He tells everybody we talk to. He's counting the views all the time. I looked at it once. I'm like, whatever. Like,
and I think there's a happy medium because you don't need to count them constantly. And I don't mean to give you career advice. That's not what I'm trying to do. It's just more playing the devil's advocate from that POV. In theory, reminding people in a year from now at that point or whenever that, oh, this is this cool video from last year. It's hard to believe it's now a 4.5 million or whatever. You realize that a whole new wave of people become aware of it, and that we're not even aware of anything that you haven't accomplished in the last 3 months. So for me, I have funny things like I won a TV show called Canada's Smartest Person. That was 3 years ago, and it's now out of my bio. I don't talk about it regularly, but once a year I post about it.
Cool.
Because it's a thing that nobody else in the music industry in Canada has that makes me a candidate for Sirius XM or a TV situation, or it's just why it's worth looking at me twice. And every time I repost about it, one of my contacts I made this year, a new publisher, a new publicist goes, how did I fucking not know this?
Okay, I see.
Do you know what I mean? And it's like, how did I not know that you won a national television show? And by the way, I didn't win the whole season. I just won the season premiere. But it's like, and as long as you word it right, and it's so important that you don't come off as corny or too self-congratulatory, but it is worth, and the term I use is telling your story. It's like, that's part of my story. I was on TV. We booked out a restaurant full of our friends, and it was one of the craziest experiences of my life.
Yeah.
And if I never bring it up again, it never happened to anybody I meet after the year 2017.
No, I get it. And I feel like for me, it's not that I'm never going to bring that stuff up again. I just feel like it's a waste here. And I think maybe it's different for what you do because you're actually taken seriously as an art form.
Oh, I am not taken seriously at all, but I appreciate it. No,
but like musicians have publishers and like publicists. There's
more infrastructure.
We don't have that as comedians.
Yeah,
like I would try to get a publicist. They're like, what am I going to do with you? Like what you can't make, like what am I going to do with you? You know?
Interesting.
So it's just, so I think because of that,
you're right.
I don't take it seriously, that I'm like, what's the point? This isn't going to do anything for my career here. You know, like you could have like, I was at, before I deactivated, which I may be back, my Instagram, I was at like 11,000.
Yep.
Which is good numbers for, somebody trying to build up their social media.
Great.
That means shit in Canada as a comic. But in the States, when you talk to managers and agents, that's one of the first things they ask. Mm-hmm. But here it doesn't matter. Like I had a pitch meeting with Bell and CBC, and they could have not cared less about that. They don't care. It doesn't matter here for comics. I don't know if it matters for other artists, but it just doesn't matter here for comics. Yeah. So I feel like that's just been bred in me for so long that I don't look at these things as accomplishments. I'm just like, whatever. Like it doesn't matter.
For me, the way that I look at Canada is as my home base, and I'm exported from here. So you're right, because in Canada, celebrity is a whole other beast. There's only like 100 famous people ever.
There is no star system here. You have to leave, and then Canada will be like, oh, they're Canadian. And it's like, well, you didn't do anything with me here.
No, that's what I mean. It's an export. You need to be from Canada, benefit from the fact that you're Canadian. And I take quite seriously about, for example, the healthcare.
Me too.
Like, we want to spend a lot of time in the US, but not so much time we lose our healthcare.
I'm terrified. Like, I love Canada so much. I feel so privileged to have been born here and grow up here. Mm-hmm. But it just sucks it sucks almost, I don't know how you guys feel, but it sucks for me. Well, I feel like I'm almost being forced out of the country that I love by my career. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Where I'm like, I clearly can't go any further here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've done everything that I can do other than like the one festival that doesn't want me. Mm-hmm. Why am I like, I need to leave, and I would have left a lot sooner, but I was in denial about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And now I'm like, okay, I have to, and America terrifies me.
Yeah,
like,
we talk about this a lot
it's scary.
because we're considering living in LA for 6 months of the
That's what we're going to do. Like,
we're
my husband, God bless him, he's lived in LA a bunch of times, so he's not as excited about it as I am. If it were up to me, he would be in New York, but for what he does, there's more opportunity for him in LA. And he'll be fine there. But he's very like 1 foot in the water. Like he's very like, no, we're keeping the house. Well, I don't even want to rent out. Like he wants to just be able to come back at any time.
That's what we're going to do. We're going to buy a house and then spend 6 months in LA.
6 months there.
Have you decided which 6 months? Because we've talked about this a bunch.
I mean, you know what?
One version you have to spend Christmas there if you do the winter.
I'm fine with that.
Yes,
and
Jess has problems with that. So
I don't even think. I think he's going to get there and realize, hey, there are a lot of opportunities for me here. And he's not going to feel like he needs to leave all the time. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But for what he does, a lot of the directing jobs that are even here are hired out of LA.
Mm.
So he needs to go there to be able to work in his country, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I also feel like things will go better for him than he thinks there. And he's not going to be like, oh my God, we have to come back all the time.
Yeah, I just need to stay in Canada just long enough to get my healthcare.
What is that? Is that 6 months? Well,
6 months exactly.
Right, and you have to be.
So we'll do 5.5 months. We'll do 5.5 months there.
We have to be there for 6 months with the green card. I don't know what you're going there with, but you legally have to stay in the States for 6 months with the green card.
Well, my plan is because we work. We run lyricvids.com, the sponsor of this episode, and that's just an internet business that we can run anywhere. So already right now, we just got back from New York where we ran our business, and then before that we were in Europe
3 days
where we ran our business from there. So we can run it from anywhere we are. So my current plan is simply to travel there on a visitor. Like I'm not working, I'm not doing anything.
Right.
And just we're running our online business. That's Canadian business, but we're running it from US. Same thing we do anywhere we travel.
Can we bring like the desktop over, like the whole computer?
No, the plan would be probably to get a second laptop like mine.
I hate the learning curve of learning how to work on a laptop.
No, but we'll get you a mouse and stuff. We'll talk about it.
It's just so like, and having to work in the States. This is a whole other ballgame, but I'm sure you've seen
it's more complicated
a lot of us
for
post
you.
about it. It's so complicated. Like I had talked to an immigration lawyer, and she was like, "You need a green card, or there's no point in you going. Like you can't, even if I get an O1, she's like, you can't do anything with that other than perform in clubs. Like you can't go to an audition. You can't go to a writing job. Like if you even perform somewhere that isn't on like that didn't approve you, like you could lose everything. So I'm like, whoa. So that like really put it in perspective. But then I work with these American comics that are like, I just have to pay $400 and I came here and worked for the weekend. Like it's so different.
Interesting. Like you really see it from both sides because with music, Canadians have a lot more.
Yeah, you guys can get like the special visas.
Yeah,
to just go
I
to
did
the
that.
show.
I got a visa to go on tour in the US.
I technically can't even go across to do a free open mic. Like I'm most of the times it's fine, but I do know comics who got in trouble for that because they said you're not getting paid, but you're generating a revenue while you're on stage. They're selling drinks or whatever, and they've gotten a lot of trouble for it. So I don't mess with that. I know people that do it and lie or do what I don't want to mess with the American government. So I'm doing everything above board. And all that stuff. So, and I'll be honest about it too. Like, the only reason I'm getting a green card is because my husband's someone like I'm just getting a spousal green card. Like I did everything through him because he's had this crazy long career.
Are you going to be able to get a green card? Is that all worked out?
Yeah, we've already been approved. So we're just working out the final details.
Wow, congrats, that's great.
That's only because of him. Like I don't have the credentials to get one for me.
Yeah,
so
I'm definitely going to go the illegal.
It's all
I do it. Unfortunately,
it's all through him. So. And
but all you want to do right now is be able to do mics, so that's fine for the first.
Yeah, but I mean, if she's saying that like you're bringing the revenue to the place.
Well, do you know people who've got like a comic? I'm not gonna say their name. That would be awful. Can you imagine if I said their name? This comic did this at the board. No, they said they were just going across to visit, and they Googled them. And they said, "Oh, you're performing at this." And they're like, "Well, I'm not getting paid." And they were like, "You still can't do it," and they weren't allowed in. So like that has always been ingrained in me, and it's always terrified me.
Yeah,
but I think our plan is safe. I.e., we always do this. We go down and spend a month in LA already.
Yeah,
so we'll just spend more months in LA.
Yeah,
and we're not working locally. You're gonna play open mics that you're added to last minute and people that you meet along the way.
Just don't post about it before you go. Like some people are stupid. They post it all over social media, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like
I've booked tours in the US and not gotten
deleted
visas.
our Facebook and our Instagram off of our phones before going over the border.
I have a listen. No, the government's not listening. I have a fake account that has my government name.
I wish that I used a stage name for that reason alone.
Because my personal Facebook is under Ill Vibe Heavy Ox, and my Anthony's not there, so I have an Anthony Caprata Facebook that I just install my stuff when I go over the border.
Smart. Yeah,
and it's fine. But
it's just hard. They make it so hard.
It's so stressful to me because you end up booking a bunch of dates, and then you go over and just some guy. Last time I went over, they looked at us and was like, "How did you all get the same days off?" And I was just like, I don't know, the way that any three people have ever traveled together got the same days
question.
off.
It terrifies me. I'm scared.
Have four people ever traveled together in your knowledge? They all got the same days off.
Yeah.
That's just automatic when four people travel together.
That's why I'm scared to cross the border. Like, and it's not because I'm doing anything wrong. I get that fear of like, they're going to ask me something. I'm going to be like,
They once made me take my pants off.
Really?
They didn't give me like a cavity search or whatever, but they made me take my pants and my boots off.
I've so far had the easiest times. Like I've just had them, where are you going? Okay, cool. Who do you know there? All right, have fun. And I've been very lucky, but I know that one day I'm going to get
His Islamic ass beard has them treating me different at the border.
I know a girl who was sent back because they thought she was an escort just because they looked at her Instagram and she had sexy pictures and she said she was going to meet like a guy she was like dating or whatever, which she was. It was like a guy she was dating from the internet, but they were just like, oh yeah, you're going to like fuck him from the internet essentially. And they're like, look at these like bikini thong pictures like on your Instagram. And she's like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I like looking sexy on my Instagram. I'm not an escort. I'm going to visit a guy I'm actually dating right now. And they were like, nope. And they banned her for like 6 months.
That's crazy.
I got banned for 6 months too.
Why?
I would be
because I smelled like weed. I had none with me, but they said I smelled like weed.
And you got banned for that. Because I know people who got turned away for smelling like weed, but they didn't get banned.
I was also
like red flag.
I was traveling with a friend who had been denied entry before.
Oh, that's a thing.
And so then we went through it, and but it shouldn't. Yes, it should be a reason that you check us, but it shouldn't be the reason I can't get in. Is because you couldn't. Anyways, it's a very vague system to say the least. And so I was vague for a little while. My name on Twitter was Illy banned from America because it was just like hilarious to me that because I'm the furthest problem. You know what I mean? Like I smoke weed for sure, but I never bring drugs over the border. I've never once broken any of those crazy laws. I always buy the weed in the state that I'm in, the way that anybody in that state buys it. I'm not the issue, and I don't do hard drugs or promote violence in my music. I'm not the problem. And so when I go over the border and they make me like take my pants off or like,
why'd you take your pants off?
Because they said I smelled like weed and because I smoked some.
So they want to make sure it wasn't like sewn in your pants or something.
And then they brought a dog out and all that shit. But nothing happened. It was fine. But then they said you still can't come in and we don't like your answers. You're banned.
It's so scary, like that people have power like that.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Like I get that it's a necessity in terms of safety and stuff, but it's like
A certain extent of it is for sure.
Extent, but it scares me.
They should look airtight. We don't want it in, absolutely, and that's where it stops. No judgment of she's too sexy. No judgment of
that's crazy. To
like
me.
why? How do you all? The thing with me is always how do you all know each other? And I'm like, man, any answer I give you is going to sound suspicious. I know him from Facebook. You know him from Facebook? Yeah, I guess that sounds weird at the border, but I know a lot of people
from
weird. But I know a lot of people from Facebook.
Yeah, I've never like I said, I've never had a problem. Like I've been so lucky, and I'm terrified of it. But it's like I've always just been like right across.
Whenever I go through with Jess, they just wave us. They ask no questions. They ask what we do for a living, and then they wave us.
What do you tell them when they ask?
Well, because our actual revenue, most of it is
like video
running.
Yes,
thing,
we're animators.
Okay. So that's really cool.
They don't need to know that I also make music and that music makes 7% of my income.
Well, that's the thing too. I never told them I'm a comic because I always had other jobs.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, okay. And now I'm like, I wouldn't know what to say. Like,
I think you just say whatever the other job is, just so it's real or whatever.
but I don't have another job.
But
anymore.
what was it?
I used to. Well, I've had so many. Like I was
just pick one of the ones that were
but
real.
then if they look into it online, right? So I talked to like.
They never call the company though. So if you're like I'm a temp, I work at offices.
You never know. Like
they've given me a hard ass time and they've never called anybody.
A lawyer I talked to just said, "Say your housewife." Like they were like, "Just say your housewife."
Yeah,
like,
that's fine.
How?
Oh yeah,
it's really none of their business.
If your husband is a badass director, that's plenty good enough story.
Yeah, I mean,
I love that we're working out your alibi live on our podcast.
But I won't even need to do it live from. I don't even know. Like, yeah, I just think I'm worried until we physically have that paper. That's like,
you're right.
Here you go. You know,
Homeland Security, they don't fuck around.
No,
they're terrifying.
They are super duper terrifying.
I hope they're not watching this.
I don't think so.
No.
Okay.
What, babe?
Don't let me say it. I'm trying to not say it so we don't burst the bubble or shatter the illusion.
So okay,
I'm just trying to get him to start the next topic.
Yeah,
That's
totally.
the difficulty that
I'm stoned now though. Okay, so
did you ask her if you could smoke weed?
I didn't, but it's okay.
I don't care.
Okay.
It's fine.
I got didn't care vibes.
Usually he asks.
The courts of British Columbia, Canada, apologized today about they live streamed. One of these like press conferences reporting the details on a double murder. A double murder in Canada is pretty rare, so it's a big deal for the British Columbia Police Department. And I don't know how this happened, but a cat filter was applied to the.
Oh my gosh! You know what's so weird? I heard
like
about
district attorney or whatever.
Made like a joke about. I think it was like SNL or something made a joke.
Yeah,
about
that's
that.
right.
Oh, yeah, it was SNL. Yeah, they made a joke about that recently.
Oh my gosh, they did.
Because it happened. I think they maybe were making fun of the BBC because it initially first happened to the BBC.
Yeah.
Like a year ago or whatever, and it's just hilarious to me that in a live stream somebody would push the cat filter button because someone has to hit the button, right? There's no way that the computer just like.
And I don't get it. Are they live streaming to Instagram?
Maybe they need to use a different app that doesn't.
That's what I didn't understand. I was like,
have cat
was it
filters?
Snapchat? Like, what was going
maybe
on?
You just use the camera app on your phone, which doesn't usually have filters, does it?
I don't know. What. And the thing, it was the RCMP too. Like, it wasn't like.
So they probably use like a web. They probably use like a webcam and some like Windows thing, and maybe they have cat filters on those.
Do you think
I've never
someone
used
got fired?
Oh yeah, for sure, right? That's hilarious and embarrassing. That's like
I feel like it would be such an accident, though. If I was the boss, I wouldn't be able to fire someone.
Yeah,
for
but
that.
you couldn't fire anybody anyways.
I mean, I feel
I've
like
fired people.
The only reason to be fired is because
that's
they
true.
were talking about a murder. Like, it wasn't like they're like, oh, this store got robbed, or you know, like
The
this
fucking
car thing.
cat
Like, it was
face
like two
filter.
people got double hump. Like, I feel like maybe that's why they might take it a bit more seriously because like
Yeah, 'cause
there's
it's
people,
such a
their families
serious
watching
thing.
that. You know?
Yeah.
As soon as I read that, like my initial thought was my favorite news stories where my initial thought is, well, that's for sure not real.
Now, I thought it was fake because
I'm like, that's for sure an exaggeration. That's not real.
I like looked into it a bit because I was like, oh, I don't
Me
know if
too.
this is fake or not.
And then it's like, wait a minute, this seems to be quite real.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Talk about the thing that Maya recently posted about the police officer.
Oh wow, yeah, that's a good one too.
Yeah,
so
similar kind of.
Yeah, in the UK, I guess a police officer went to the home of a family that had just had a child murdered in a crime of some sort, and the family was down to the police department identifying the body or something like that, something associated with
very
this.
serious.
And so
and tragic.
he's at their apartment or flat in the UK, and waiting for the family to come home.
Right.
And they're out for a couple hours, so he gets bored, and he thinks, well, that would be a really good time to just like watch some porn.
Oh my gosh.
So he couldn't find any, of course, because it's just not on the TV. So then he goes up into the pay-per-view channels
and buys porn
on the family's account for £24.95, which is like 35 or 37 Canadian dollars.
It's not like they wouldn't notice.
Oh no, then it would be the biggest item they'd ever had on their bill.
If your bill goes up by like $40 or whatever, you would notice.
And so now what I read is that there was nobody else possibly at the home in that time, and that there was evidence he had changed his like sign in and out times and stuff to try to shield where he was during that time afterwards or something like that.
Yeah, because if it wasn't you, you'd be like, I swear to God, it wasn't me.
Man.
Like, this is where, like, you wouldn't try to like hide stuff.
Yeah.
It's the best.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
It's terrible.
Like, I'm not a man, so I don't understand, but it's like, when you get nervous to watch porn, like, how big is...
Listen,
how much do you really need to watch porn?
I thoroughly enjoy jerking off, but I'm able to control where and when pretty
Okay, let's devil's advocate a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe this police officer works like 20 hours a day where he's just like gets barely any sleep,
and he can never jerk it.
and maybe he has kids at home and he can't.
But then you still don't. You look it up on your phone. You still don't buy it.
That's what I'm saying. Why do you not have internet on your phone? What is wrong with you?
You look it up on your phone, which is worse.
It makes me feel like he might have been an older man because they don't understand like the phone thing.
He might
They're
have been.
probably like, oh, you can only watch porn on TV.
Yeah.
Like. Yeah, it makes me feel like it was probably
would
like.
That be acceptable?
I'm going to say 50 or over.
It wouldn't be acceptable, but no one would have found out about it.
No one would have found out about it.
Yeah.
But if they did, yeah, it would have been bad.
I feel like your bathroom time is kind of like your time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but not when you're in someone else's bathroom.
Yeah, especially for that reason.
Like, that'd be weird. Wouldn't that be weird if like someone came out of your bathroom like, thanks for letting me use your washroom, I jerked it. Like, you'd be
I
like,
would want them to tell me, but if they did,
no. And if you're in someone else's bathroom, even if they didn't just lose a child, it's still inappropriate to jerk off in their bathroom.
yeah.
I mean, if you're like maybe house sitting for them for like a month.
I'm upset with your tone.
I'm just trying to play the devil's advocate because I'm just trying to think of like weird things that I've done in bathrooms. Like, you know what I mean? Like maybe my like nipples were like sore that day and I'm like lifting up my shirt, like looking at them in the mirror.
That's not the same as someone jerking
different.
off.
It's different. Like I said, if you give your buddy your house for a week and you're not there, that's different. There, I'm like, I'm appreciated that you did it in the bathroom and not on my bed.
Yeah,
but if they're like here and you're like, it's just,
Or if the person has like a mental illness where they have to jerk off every 6 hours and that happens to be at your house, they go to the bathroom, they don't say anything, they do it, they clean up and they come back. Sure, I'm not mad. You did it in my bathroom. Thank you.
Is that a mental illness? I don't think that's
No, he was just trying to
You don't think there's anybody in the world? You don't think there's anybody in the world who compulsively needs to masturbate like every 6 hours or something?
Yeah, but I don't think that's a mental illness.
Well, it's something.
It's definitely something, but I don't.
Mental, but
I'm not
it's not
into
an
this whole
illness.
like whatever. This is very. I'm not going to be. Yeah, I'm getting into a controversial thing where I'm like, oh, he did this because he has a sex addiction. I'm like,
unpopular
okay.
opinion. She does not believe in mental illness.
No, I totally.
This is the
believe
clip.
in
We
mental
always put
illness.
2 clips on Instagram.
I totally
this is going to be
believe.
1 clip, and it's going to be called "Michelle doesn't believe in mental illness."
I live down the street from Chem H. I know mental illness is real. I believe in mental illness, and I'm very. You know, like
I'm gonna add the word "don't." You pause there. I'm gonna put
if
the word
some
"don't."
guy masturbates in my bathroom and I'm like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, I'm mentally ill." I'm gonna be like, "Get out of here! You're a liar." That's all I'm saying.
You're not gonna be like, "You can stay because you're mentally ill." That's
no,
for sure.
but I'm gonna say that's an excuse because you got caught jerking it.
I once masturbated at probably twice at like my work, but like in like the bathroom, and always there was nobody there. It was like I was there by myself, and they like left me there all day.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying.
so
though.
work turns you on.
No, I was just stuck all day, and I was bored. And after like 6 hours, like I had something to do.
Okay, so that's his work though. So other than the
Yeah, but
child
my
dying,
work isn't someone else's house.
Yeah,
That's fair.
So I guess so.
That's fair.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
One of them was an
And-
office.
But it does bring it a little bit closer to him.
But because it didn't cost them $50 for you to jerk it.
No.
Like that's
of course.
crossing.
Yeah, that is the big line crosser.
What I used back then because I didn't have. I guess I had a phone.
Did you use a magazine?
No, I guess I would have had a phone.
You hide it under like the toilet.
But it was like 7 years ago. But they still had like iPhone 1s. Did iPhone 1s have the internet on and like video and stuff?
yeah, it just took a long time to get into it.
Well, it would have been on Wi-Fi, but anyways, I can't recall. I have trouble remembering backwards like how much internet we had or like phones we had
because
at
we
different
can't
times.
imagine a life without it.
No.
It's crazy to me, but I'm also grateful that I didn't grow up in a time where we had social media when we were kids.
I feel like we got the best of both worlds. Anybody in our generation
you're
feels this way, where it's like I have the innocence of my youth without it, and the productivity of my professional career with it.
I really think that, yeah, especially with the professional career, it's like Uber and Google Maps changes my life. Like I feel like I wouldn't have tried stand-up comedy without Uber and Google Maps.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Like it's just like I can't imagine being a kid with
If you
no
had to go out
phone,
with an
or not
actual
kid,
map
being a
and be
me
like, I need to find
with
the
no
saloon.
phone and just being like, oh, I heard by word of mouth that there's this open mic.
Or I heard I'd make 2 lefts, then a right, then like I would get lost all the
find
time.
the big
Yeah,
oak
no,
tree.
there's no way I would do stand-up comedy
Also,
without the
The Red
internet.
Barn. That's
Turn left at the Red Barn.
That's where a guy named Open Mike lives. And
Open mic.
yes, he hosts comedy. in
Leave
his
the
barn.
comedy to her. Also, what I want to know is
I
like,
thought that was pretty fucking good.
it's all right. A kid. I feel like, did people just cancel plans a lot last night because it wasn't as easy to just text somebody that might be waiting for you and say, I'm not
couldn't
coming?
get out of it.
Well,
you couldn't just send.
you'd have to
Like,
call them
I
and cancel
plans all
or
the
not
time.
show up, I guess.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, you couldn't really do that back then. That always blows
You'd have
my
to like
mind.
fake a cough, like
Oh yeah, remember when that
whereas
was a
like
thing?
now you could just be like, I'm having a panic attack, I can't come, or be like, I have a
Yeah,
fever.
sick voice was such a thing for,
Yeah.
for like 20 years, and then
Yes.
now you don't have to sick voice as
No,
much.
you don't.
No, I never talk on the phone.
I'm really bad at it now. I've like
don't like
lost
it.
the ability.
It makes me uncomfortable.
Sometimes we get clients who want to get on the phone with us just to make sure that we're not
I
gonna,
get
like
that.
if it's their first time working with us, they don't want to like send money to people they don't even know. So they just call to make sure that we're like intelligent, normal people.
Yeah.
And I have to talk on the phone with them, and I'm really, really bad at it. He says I'm not as bad as I
You're
think.
good at it, actually.
But I really feel like I'm like almost using like buzzwords. Like I feel like, yeah, and well, you know,
That's
we'll
what
just
they want,
we'll
man.
have great
That's agency
synergy
talk, and
and
they
like
love
you know
it.
what I mean? Like I just
Oh my
feel
God,
like I'm not
synergy
even
is the
saying
biggest
actual
buzzword.
sentences.
But you probably
know?
just feel like that because we don't talk on the phone anymore. Like it's not a
Yeah.
thing. So it's not something that you do every day.
It's like saying sentences I would never type. Like,
Yeah,
why
yeah,
am I
yeah.
saying this?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, you're funny.
can you fill this up for
I
me?
can for sure.
Do you watch any reality TV?
Yeah, I do.
Do you are you watching The Bachelorette?
No, I'm not. It's not as fun when it's all the men, and I feel bad for saying that, but it's like it's just different.
So you watch The Bachelor then?
Sometimes, but with reality TV, I'll like just watch random episodes. Like I don't necessarily get I'm really into The Hills New Beginnings right now.
A lot of people are.
Yeah, so that's something that I have watched every episode so far. But other than that, like I'll just if I see one on, I'm like, oh, I'll watch this.
Yeah.
But it's not like I'm like, oh, at this day, at this time, I have to sit down and watch this.
Did you ever watch The Hills, babe?
The original Hills, I dated a girl around the time that was on, and I think I saw a bunch of it. Yeah.
I kind of am curious about the new one.
It's
What I remember is it's
weird.
better quality than some of the reality you watch.
It's
Because
definitely better
it's almost
quality.
like it's scripted, kind of, right?
Kind of.
It's definitely scripted.
I think all reality is
Yeah.
scripted, but it's
Yeah.
different in the sense it's
They
kind
shoot
of
it like it's reality, but they do have kind of like a story that they follow.
But it's kind of more ridiculous now because they're adults. So they're like, they're like my age, and I'm like, why do you have this drama? Like, you
Yeah.
know, so it's like,
Yeah.
just tell your buddy
Shouldn't
how you
have-
feel. Like,
Yeah.
shouldn't you know? And that's the
Yeah.
part that I know. It's like, they have to have it because it wouldn't make for good TV, but
Yeah.
it's just the way they're acting. And
If
I'm
everybody
like,
finds inner peace, the Hills sequel's not as good.
exactly. Like, but it's different watching it when they're your age now and you're like, because when I watched it before, I'm like, oh, I get it. That's how I'd behave too. Well, yeah, because we were like 21, 22.
Yeah.
And now like in our 30s, I'm like, grow up. Like,
Yeah.
what is wrong with you? You know?
So funny.
Like, you're an adult.
Yeah, it's like fighting and arguing is one thing because as adults we still have arguments, but it's like creating drama out of nothing. And
Yeah,
just
and I
like,
would never scream at somebody in public. Like I'm
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
I'm very aware of like, you know, being polite in public and being.
you'd just be
you
like
know,
pissed at them and then send
Yeah,
them like a strongly
exactly.
worded
But
text
then they're like,
message.
"Rah, rah, rah," and I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
But I guess so. We're like the real housewife ladies. They're all like that too.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if it's a good drama or if
I
these are
missed
just
I
people
missed
behave
that
like
entire phenomenon. I never watched any Real
love it.
Housewives, any.
But I don't know it. But if I
Yeah.
see it on TV and I'm flipping, I'll just watch it.
We watch a lot of decorating shows, or right now we
We don't watch a lot of decorating shows. That's not
I
true.
watch a lot of decorating shows, and then you every so often find one that you like too.
Well, this one is not really a decorating show.
Yeah, it's more of a interior.
What is it?
It's amazing.
So Netflix has a show called like The World's Most Amazing Houses, and
Extraordinary houses.
These houses are like, man, it's like you did LSD and like drew your dream house, and then a dude just built it. No, like money is no object.
Yeah, it's a lot about architecture and
Okay.
stuff like that.
They're beautiful, trippy houses where the outside melts into the inside, and there is no. It's just insane.
Yeah, I'm not that into that
it's
stuff.
like you can swim from the bedroom down into the basement.
My
and
husband
out
would like
into
that stuff.
Like it
Yeah.
looks. Oh, it's fun to watch because we're in the process of saving up to buy a house. It's going to take us a year, I think, at least to get our down payment ready. But it's fun. This is way outside of our budget, but it's still fun to look at it and be like,
oh, I would like
so
that.
That's the pinnacle of what you could do. Let's start to back engineer down to our much more modest budget level.
Like one thing that we want to do is definitely like a cinema room, which is definitely achievable at our price range. You know,
today we
few levels of couches,
of a couch pit. No, the couch pit.
Oh, couch pit.
It's all about the couch pit.
So like a indent in the ground where it kind of goes down.
The couch is in the ground.
Yeah,
cool. I like
plan.
that. See, I don't really think like that. Like I don't have an architectural brain. You know what I mean?
Well, neither do we. But see, the thing with us is a lot of our adulting is defined by a fact that you don't know about us yet, which is we don't fuck with kids, so we're not going to have it.
Oh, us neither.
So,
us neither. We're not into that. And like,
my thing is, if we're going to buy a house, don't get caught up in the traditional stuff that's meant for kids because we're not going to have none.
Yeah.
So it's like, then what we should do is turn, you know what I mean? Like
we want like
the living
vignettes
room
of entertainment.
Yes, exactly. Little stations of vibes and fun. So I want because I smoke a lot of weed. So if not money was no object, but if within reason money was no object, or if you're just like thinking outside the box, what is the best possible back patio for someone who's going to smoke weed on it for the next 40 years?
That's
cool.
like,
well, that's like a crazy kind of outside couch with, you know what I'm saying? Like
exactly.
Surround sound, outside speakers, and maybe some cool candle lit and maybe some shit that comes down.
I really want like a fire pit, and I know that's
totally.
Are you allowed to have those in Toronto?
I think if you get one of those covered ones, you're good.
Too. It depends.
Yeah.
Like, you can't
be too close to another house. Or
I just don't have that brain. Like I would need somebody to give me ideas and be like, I picked that. You know,
interesting.
The one thing is a pool. Like I need a pool.
Yeah.
Like that's
especially like this past week.
Well, I'm trying to convince my husband, like, because we have a yard, and I was like, okay, babe, I done some research, and there's small pool, and he was like, we live in downtown Toronto, like we're not. It would take up our whole yard. And I'm like, it's cool. Like we'll just get a small pool, and he was like, no, like you can't just put a pool here. Like, I was trying to convince him that we can make it work. Yeah. Even though like. I'm grateful that we have a yard, but it's still a yard in downtown Toronto, so it's not huge.
Yeah, of course,
I'm like, we could do it, but now we just are out as parents every day, like I said. But
that's true.
I was like, I love it. I just learned to swim this year.
Wow.
I'm so into it.
That's amazing.
Love it. Yeah. So I'm super into it. And I couldn't, like all the places that I'm looking at in LA, I'm like, they have to have a pool or I'm not going.
There's a lot of that.
I need one.
There's a lot of mid-level places in LA that have like a building with the pool in the courtyard or whatever.
I'm trying to like, I would live in a retirement community if he would let me. Like I'm trying to find places where it's mostly old people. So it's not going to be people throwing parties at the pool or people like, so I'm looking at like, places that he's like, it's going to be all old people. I'm like, that's amazing. Like that's what I want.
Like a very like modest place last time we went to LA, but it had a pool. It was like
everywhere it does almost.
Like 2-level buildings that are just like a U shape, and it just has like a pool on the lower level, almost like a motel style. Yeah, and we didn't use it because we were there in the winter, but like in winter for us, but it was warm there.
That's still nice,
yeah. I feel like that's something that I would love to have my own house one day with my very own pool. Like I think that's to me is I'll feel like I've made it.
Are you pro or anti hot tub?
I'm not a hot tub person. I think I'm ridiculous about how people perceive me and like status. So I feel like I would get one just to be like, I have hot tub money. But
they're not even that expensive.
You're basically a rapper.
Like trailer trash have like
I'm
hot
ridiculous
tubs.
and stuff like that. Like I'll be like, okay, I bought this purse that I can't afford, or like we probably didn't. Like I'm ridiculous with being like, look at what I have, and then I'm like, fuck, can I pay the mortgage now? Like I'm ridiculous. So yeah, I have that in me, but I would do that for that because I just think they're aesthetically nice. Yeah, but they make me sick. Like I don't feel good in them.
Really, I
like
find with the winters in Canada, like I wouldn't do it in the summer, but with the winters, it's like nice.
I can't take the heat. Yeah, and I also said that like that's the one thing that when he was like, we can't get a pool, I'm like, we get a hot tub. He's like, you don't even like a hot tub. I'm like, fair enough.
Do you know why I'd want a hot tub? Because I was just thinking about it and I was like, I don't know if I'd want a hot tub in my backyard, but I love the idea of creating the kind of place it's like a destination that your friends want to come kick it at.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
The only thing I would like about a hot tub.
I don't want other people in my hot tub though.
Yeah.
Like
I don't want many people,
but that's like
a circle
it
of like
gets dirty.
There's a circle of like 20 people in my life that
That's a lot of people.
I would want, yeah.
It's like 4.
We're very social. We are pretty
I live
social.
a blessed life. I have 20. My circle is medium sized.
Do you have is there a lot of maintenance you have to do for a hot tub?
Yeah, but
I wouldn't want to
you just
do that.
hire someone out.
Exactly.
So now we're talking about when we're rich enough to not only buy a hot tub but to hire someone.
That's a given. Anything like that, I'm not going to be the maintenance guy.
Me neither.
No.
I don't do that. I just want somebody to take care of my whole life for me. Like that's
I do the hard work, but I do not do the physical labor.
That's how we talk about.
Sorry, I interrupted.
I was just saying that's how we talk about kids too. It's just maybe one day we'll have them when we're rich enough to afford someone else to take care of them.
If I'm like a millionaire, billionaire, I'll just adopt a kid that needs a home who's maybe a bit older and nobody wants.
Well, I would do that too.
But I don't. What, am I just supposed to do stuff for? I don't. Understand, you're just someone's slave for 18 years. I personally don't get the appeal.
Yeah.
Plus the world is fucked and we're overpopulated as it is. But none of my friends have kids. All my friends think like me. They don't want them or whatever.
Yeah,
but my husband's friends all have kids. So he had to really kind of talk to me at first because he'd be like, "Oh, we're gonna hang out with them and their kid," and I'm like, "Are their kids gonna be there?" And he was like, "Yes, this is part of being an adult." And I was like, "I want to hang out with kids," and now I'm starting to get a bit better with them, but I'm never gonna want them.
Yeah.
But it just and they all seem miserable. The people that we know with kids, they'll just come over and they'll just be like, "Oh, they were up all night." I'm like.
Yeah, our friends who are really honest with us, one of which is your sister.
It's a thankless job.
They really they look at our lifestyle and they're like, yeah, don't do it. Don't get kids. You guys aren't good for kids and kids wouldn't be good for you. They have kids, but they don't try to push them on us.
We would be good parents and I like kids. Those aren't the issues for me. The issue is I'm not willing to give up all of the beautiful things that we have and what seems to be in reasonable expectation of what's coming if we continue on the path that we're on and don't get off it and get into the mom and dad
I think
path.
I'd get resentful too because I think that the first 2 years of us having a kid, you would still travel probably. You'd still go to your conferences and stuff,
and
right?
that's natural. That always happens.
Yeah.
That's natural. And of course I would get resentful too. But also for me, it's I spent so many years trying to get my looks to a place where I was comfortable with my body
that's
and myself,
too.
and I'm not about to ruin that.
And to be honest, I'm not psyched about the idea about Jess's vagina being ruined forever.
Yeah.
These are all things I think about.
It either.
Also, it's I feel there's things about me that I don't want to pass on to someone else. You know what I mean? I'm like,
yeah,
I'm a bit fucked up. Let's not give that to someone else. Be sorry. I rolled the dice with you.
Sorry that didn't work out for you.
We both have our things too. That probably isn't a good idea.
What?
My
genetics are fucking great.
We'd have beautiful kids though.
You guys really would. You really
nice
would.
Little Italian looking kids.
It'd be sexy.
Yeah.
Did you use the Face app?
No,
to oldify yourself.
No, my sister did it to me and sent it to me, and I was really horrified. I'm very I
was
said,
from the conversations that we've had already with you, I'm not surprised you haven't done it.
What terrified me is I looked exactly like my mother, and
I looked exactly like my dad and my no-no.
Make you feel like it's so accurate?
Yeah, it's upsetting.
So that showed me. All it did was show me how much money, how every year I'm going to have to spend more and more and more to not look like that, because I know that is my future. But I can't. My sister did a bunch of them. She did me and my other sister, and I was like, no,
wow,
stop it. I will block and delete you.
Hilarious.
Yeah,
you did it.
I did it.
What did you think?
I mean, it's probably accurate. I didn't look like my mom because I don't really look like my mom that much.
You were kind of a hot old lady.
Yeah, do you think?
Yeah.
Oh,
but is that something that bothers you, age? Or are you one of those people that are age naturally?
100%. I started crying the other day because basically when we got back from New York, Anthony kind of gave me a pep talk about comedy, and he was just like, if you really want to do it, he's like, I fully believe you could do it. Go forth and do it. And I started crying, and I was just like, am I too old to start? I was just I feel like I'm just I wish I would have started 10 years ago. So it's it's not so much my looks and my body and stuff that I'm worried about. It's more so just what I want to do with my life.
That's how I
where
feel
I'm
about,
just
writing and acting. I think by now, really what's the probability?
Totally. And I never want to see, that's why with the acting thing too, it's that's something that interests me, but I've never wanted to start that because I fear that it would so let's say I'm doing comedy or whatever. I fear that starting acting would take away from what I'm doing with comedy, and then I probably wouldn't make it as an actress. So then it's just like, then I just wasted more time doing acting when I should have been really fully focusing on comedy.
I can guarantee you that you'll book something before I do. Like that's just the way it works for everybody.
I'm like full of tattoos.
So you have that, but that's a thing. That's a look, right?
Yeah.
You have like, yeah, for sure. Everybody books stuff for me, so you would totally do it. Start be like, I booked my first commercial.
That's a starting spot, babe.
If it's something you want to do it. And it's like, but I don't know. I can't. Maybe it's different for me because I already have a balance with comedy and know what I'm doing. That I was fine to take on something else. But you're right. Maybe starting kind of two things.
Yep.
Would be a bit different because you're like, which one do I put 100% into? You know, and I just don't put 100% into anything, so I'm okay. Which I should. I'd probably be further along, but yeah, I mean, if you want to do it, do it. Like, and a lot of the auditions and stuff, they look for comedians. You know, they're like, we want someone with comedy experience or that kind of stuff. So I think it would go hand in hand.
And I lied when I said not physically because I got Botox and stuff. So
good for you.
Yeah.
Like. You know, like I said, to
and
each their own,
extensions,
that's
which I guess
not
is like
something
part of
that
it
people
too.
want to do. But some people are so judgmental about that stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's so bizarre to me. Some people are really judgmental about people who get stuff done, you know? And it's like,
I mean, I guess I get it as like a big picture thing where it's like women already have so many things that they have to do. Like I was looking at his armpit hair the other day and I was just like, oh my God, like, and he doesn't even have that much. Like it's like a normal amount of man armpit hair. But I was just like, if I had that, people would vomit. Like, you know what I mean? Like
we have a lot to do.
We have a lot to do for maintenance. Yeah. So I get it in that sense that it's just like, we shouldn't add, and it's really expensive too, right? So it's like, we shouldn't have to add this other expensive thing and make that the norm. But by me and you doing it, it's not necessarily making it the norm. You know what I mean? But I don't know. Like I kind of get why people would like want to like push against it a little bit. Do you know what I mean?
I get that too, I guess. And most of those people, not all of them, most of those people have kids, so they have much more bigger things to worry about, I think. It's true. Like, it's like, you know, you're not going to be like, oh, I'm not going to spend thousands of dollars on my face because I'm worried about my kid and how they're feeling in our school and I got to pay for this and I got to pay for that. So that's just not their priority.
Yes.
But, however, like when you start making money like in the entertainment field, you can write a lot of it off. You can write part of it off because it's like, oh, I need this because I'm in public eye or I did a TV taping or so there are ways to like make it financially work for you.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's one thing we talked about too, that even with like abortion rights and stuff, it's usually people like with kids who are like, I didn't get to do it. So this person, these young people also should not be able to do it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know that's like getting like super serious about a non-related thing, but it's just like in the sense that like, yeah, these people who have kids and have other priorities don't like it when people get this beauty thing done to them because they don't prioritize that and they couldn't afford it and they, you know what I mean? It's almost like, well, that doesn't matter to me, so it also shouldn't matter to you. You know what I mean?
My mom said something because she talks to me like she'll be like, oh, you're so lucky, like you get to do all this. I'm like, well, you can do it too. Like you could go and like talk to somebody, like if there's something you want to fix, like you can do it. Like there's no age limit on that stuff. And she'll just be like, oh, like she'll make jokes, like she'll be, because we look like when I look at pictures of her younger, like we're so, you know, and she's like, oh, it's fun to look at you because I look at how beautiful I could have been if I didn't have kids, ha ha. And I'm like, don't use that as an excuse. Like you could, if it's something that you want to do and work on and do it for yourself, but I don't think it has to be one or the other. Like I don't think it has to be like, I can't be the best mother I could be if I don't put this into something that really bothers me. But like I said, if it doesn't bother people, more power to them. Like, you don't have to do it. But I just think as long as people do it for the right reasons, like, go for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love it.
Would you ever do anything?
I don't know what there's to do.
I think he would, though. I think so. He's very youthful. Can you guess how old he is?
No, I know it's probably going to be one of those things that you probably have like a 20-year age range that people go, that you could be.
Yeah, for sure.
Like,
I'm 36.
Yeah, he's 36.
Okay. So
but people always guess like 25.
Yeah,
with him.
I get late 20s a lot.
Yeah.
The joke for me is that I stopped doing manual labor jobs in my early 20s and started smoking weed, and ever since then I looked young as fuck. But also it's my Sicilian ass skin because it's oily and does not wrinkle.
Yeah.
These are my secrets.
But I think that if he does get like wrinkly someday, I think he'd consider it.
Well, yeah.
If I started balding like this, and the solution was
actually better than what it is now,
like safe and affordable and like quality, I would do it.
Oh, I understand.
Can't you do like
I've not done research,
it's like the vampire facial where it's like putting your own blood back into you. I think that works for hair regrowth and stuff
like,
too.
I had talked to someone about it because my husband was like, it doesn't bother me, and then one day it started to bother him.
Yeah.
So he was like, I told him about that, and he's like, look into it. And so we talked to someone about it, and they were like, no. They were like, if you have, how'd they explain it to me? They said, if you're already bald in a certain spot, it might work for you. But if your hair's gone there, it's not going to bring it back. It just might help the hair that you do have not get any worse. So that's how they explained it.
So it's more like
They said
They haven't solved it yet.
they haven't, but they act like they have. But
it's
they
more
haven't.
like upkeep rather than like
Yes.
repair.
Like when you see a lot of those people on those sites, the way the doctor explained it to me, he said when you see a lot of those pictures, they've had like a few things done. So they've had that to make their hair not get any shorter, and then they've had plugs put in.
Yeah.
And I've only ever seen people with plugs maybe twice where it looks okay.
Yeah.
Other times it's not okay.
For right now, I think I would be a no.
Do you
on
think that
And I'm
you've
not even
seen
involved
people
in
with
that
plugs
anymore.
though where you didn't know it was plugs? I always wondered that
Maybe,
too,
but
because
I've
that's kind
definitely
of like
seen people
missing in the
and been like,
equation.
wow, they might have plugs. But there is somebody I know didn't have hair, and now they've just started showing up places with hair, and I want to ask them so bad. But they're like me in the sense that like he's so weird about like perception. Like I feel like they might be
It is a sensitive thing to ask about, right?
But I really want to know. Like I'm really dying to be like, where did that come from? Does it stay there?
Does it look good?
How did this happen? It looks real.
Yeah,
it
that's good
definitely
enough.
looks real.
Yeah.
So I'm very
kudos.
But it could be toupee. Like I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Like you could
Listen, just because I come from a generation of like bad toupee jokes on like cartoons and sitcoms, I couldn't do it.
Well, yeah,
Or, like,
and
it's
you've always
like
been
flapping in the wind or it falls
Yeah,
off.
yeah.
Like,
And you've
I
always
couldn't do
been
it.
a shave your head guy, so
Yeah.
you would just bick it and go like
I'm going a little
shiny.
thin in some spots, but but not at a pace that I'm really concerned about.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I don't, and I also feel like for guys it's a bit different maybe. Like I think guys because they're like distinguished when they're older, you know?
I think it is
does have a
different,
slight
but
different
I think
vibe,
it's also a thing where it's like they're not allowed to be sensitive about their looks, so they've kind of hardened in that sense. Because I think he's really sensitive about it, and I think other guys are really sensitive about it too.
My husband is too.
I think it's almost like they're not allowed to be sensitive about it because we're obviously judged way
I think
more
the
for our
lines are
looks.
coming
You know what I
closer because
mean? Like,
more and more older female actresses, I look at it and I think of as distinguished and like attractive in like an old matronly way. Then like in a positive
matronly
way
might be the wrong word.
No, but I mean I just mean like in the way that you might say like William Shatner still has some sex appeal. There are women of the same age who are actresses who I go, oh, she's still kind of a sexy because she's a boss.
Yeah.
It's an older boss energy, but
Wait, did you say William Shatner?
yeah.
You think he's sexy?
No, but
that was just such a weird example. I mean, you could have gone with like Sean Connery or like
okay, Sean Connery looks horrible right now too.
William Shatner was a really weird example.
Okay, sure. I'm also I don't know. Okay, I'll ask you guys. Who over 60 is sexy as a man?
is Jeff Goldblum over 60?
Oh yeah,
I think
he's too. I would go with that.
Okay, cool. That's a good one. Jess loves Jeff, and that's well documented over
I
here.
don't know who else. Maybe Harrison Ford.
Okay.
He's aged pretty well.
I don't think he's sexy. I didn't even think he was sexy when he was young though. So
Yeah, that's fair. I don't know. That's a good question.
The lady from The Good Fight. Do you ever watch The Good Fight?
No.
Okay. It's a very womanly show, and I still love it and watch it. There's an older woman who's like the main boss lady from it, and she's like 65. But for sure, if I was single and she was into me, I'd date her.
I like it when he likes girls that kind of look like what I could look like when I'm older. Because I think we could look the same.
Yeah, for
Sometimes
sure.
he'll like pick this like blue-eyed blonde-haired girl, and he's like, "Oh, she's so hot." I'm like, "Fuck you."
Come on, that's not my thing. No, that's not my thing. Don't put that out there like that's my thing. It's well documented. That's not my thing.
I'm trying to think. That's gonna drive me. I know that I find certain older men on TV attractive, but I can't put my finger on it right now. Now that the pressure's on.
Yeah, anyone I'm thinking of isn't that old.
Like George Clooney, but he's 50s,
I thought of him too.
Sam Jackson is always got to be 55, right?
Yeah, I don't know Sam Jackson.
But I would say people generally I would say if someone told you that they thought Sam Jackson was sexy, I don't think you'd be like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
Oh.
No, he's like
how old's Jason Statham? He's got to be getting up there too, no?
No, he's got to be 45.
Can you look this up?
Okay, let's play the game called What Age Is He? It's never the age that you think it is.
51.
Jason Statham.
That is older than I
Damn,
would think. Bruce Willis, is he a guy that people think are sexy?
I'm tall for a woman, so I think he would be too short for me.
Where we started this conversation was just that I think more women actresses of these age groups are still considered to have a similar sex appeal as some of these men.
Yes.
Maybe than they had in the 90s, where if you were over a certain age, you kind of just disappeared off of
I think it's getting better.
Yeah.
That's all I mean.
Yeah.
And men are more and more sensitive about their looks as they get older than
What
maybe
was
they
the-
were.
I feel like it
Charlize.
starts older with men.
It does.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think with women, we're sensitive about our looks from the time
Unless the
we
man
realize
gets
that
fat,
it's a thing in
when-
life.
Absolutely.
You know?
As men get older, some of us get like fat and swollen, and those of us disappear quickly. What's his name? Who played the guy from The Doors? What's that actor's name?
Val Kilmer.
He's a good example.
Oh yeah, he got so swollen.
He would have had like another 20 years of his acting career, but he just got too swollen.
I read
really
some really
puffy.
awful things about how he treated people on set, and that's why. That's the only reason he didn't have to do more Batman. Like
but he also got really weird
he
looking.
got fired from being Batman because
he got
apparently
very
he was
swollen.
an awful person to work with. Like I felt really bad because people were like fat shaming him and making fun of him, and I was like, I feel so bad for Val Kilmer. So I googled him and I read all this horrible stuff of actors and directors talking about what a dick he was, and I was like, I don't feel bad anymore.
There you go. I don't feel bad anymore either.
Yeah. But he doesn't even look recognizable.
No, it's interesting.
But he lost a bit of weight because I think he has a small part in the Top Gun thing.
Is there a new Top Gun coming out?
Yeah, the trailer just came out, I think.
Oh, I didn't know
it's
that.
about like Goose's son or something.
It always is.
Yeah.
So I just watched the new Shaft.
Oh, God.
And it's so funny that the whole movie is about Shaft's like young son who he didn't have a relationship with, and now his son's in the FBI and he's a nerd. And I was just like, they can't help themselves, man.
Well, it's like
They
Creed.
need to set up the next generation.
Nobody cannot help themselves for doing this. Someone's like your son or daughter. And by the way, this movie looks good. So that was a negative. On a positive, I saw the trailer for the new Jay and Silent Bob reboot movie, and it looks hilarious and awesome. And I'm a big Kevin Smith fan. But same thing, Kevin Smith's daughter plays Jay's daughter in the movie, and they essentially act as like a hand down, and it's just like I don't know, at a certain point it gets tough for me to watch. Like the Shaft movie was tough to watch. They're trying to set up
a next generation of people to carry that on.
But it's so
it does feel like they should just make new movies, you know?
But you could even just make, like, for example, I'm even pro make another movie with that title, and there's like a young character with the role, and you're like, oh cool, it's a new Shaft.
I get what you're saying. I feel
like,
instead of having
this like
a movie that
hand me down to my son with this forced relationship. You were never in my life.
Yeah.
Don't come in my life now and try to tell me how to be a Shaft. Yeah. And it's just like, oh, bro.
Well, it's like
just
with
make
Creed.
the sequel that you want to make.
They had to invent a fake son that.
But it was great. I thought Creed.
Oh, I love it.
Creed didn't feel forced.
No,
they just started off with this guy's his son.
Creed.
Yeah, with what's his name, Michael B. Jordan as Apollo Creed's son. It's great, and the sequel's also great.
So good. Rocky were my favorite movie, so I was really like.
When I was young, Rocky on TBS on a Sunday morning was my shit.
And they used to play all of them. And I loved that. But I haven't seen it. But I'll have to check out. What was the movie you were talking about?
I'll never know.
Shaft.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
It's funny, and there's parts of it that are even good, but it's largely like, well, you guys really wanted to make this movie.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you just like it fulfills a very specific purpose of like, if we don't make the movie, the franchise dies, and if we do make the movie, maybe it does well enough that people want to watch the other actor as the new Shaft, and it's just like, no.
Didn't you tell me they're making a new Blade with a new actor?
Yeah, with Mahershala Ali or whatever.
Nice.
And that looks amazing.
Yeah.
I love him.
I liked some of the Blade movies.
All of them were great.
How many is there?
Well, all of them were enjoyable. There's 3.
Oh, there's 3. Okay, so I think I liked the first one or the first 2.
The first one is iconic. The second one is
that
good.
a vampire movie?
Yeah.
Yes.
With Wesley Snipes.
I always get it confused with Blade Runner.
Yeah. Also amazing.
Well, Blade does a lot of running.
Vampires or replicas? What's happening here?
I love it.
So we should probably wrap up. We've been going for 2 hours now.
This is a good one.
I'm getting warm too. Are you warm?
It's hot.
We did everything we could. We have a fan going and the AC. I did what we could. But yes, there are. Listen, people, this podcast has production value. We have lights that you can't see on camera, and they are warming the room up, as well as a lot of high-end computer equipment.
It's true.
Really hot, right?
And a neon sign, also emitting heat, and the body temperature.
Yeah.
Of
See, when I said it was hot up here in the 6, you made fun of me, but it is.
It's a good round circle moment.
Yeah.
That was really good.
This has been episode 33. Wait, is it?
No, 34.
This is 34.
Yep.
Wow, I like it.
Thanks so much for coming.
We're having
So we're counters over here, by the way.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we're episode counters.
We're episode counters.
That's a little different. We literally have it at the bottom of each episode.
It's true.
All right.
It's been a very comedy heavy one. I love it.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back soon. Stay cool. Hang out under that AC.
Rebecca Morland coming up on episode 35.
Oh yeah, that's right.
In from Nashville. Peace out. Catch you on next episode. Probably won't be weak. Bye.